feel something change inside of me. The inner human slowly dead in me. I feel it come alive. The darkness brings me light. There ain't no stopping it, and you will never have from me. Pain of the change. What have I become? A creature of the night, ruled by moonlight. The pain of the change. This body's no longer mine. Feel wild and free, but caged at the same time. It's hard to be human, think human, feel human. A hunger's arising inside of me. The beast is alive and break it free. It's hard to be human, think human, feel human. Keep putting more chains on the beast. Hope it don't break loose. You better hope so too. I'm still inside. I'm still here. What have I done? When did this all start? I have become a monster in the dark. A hunger like no other. Running on instinct. What's this creature? Always inside of me. The pain of the change. What have I become? A creature of the night, ruled by moonlight. The pain of the change. This body's no longer mine. Feel wild and free, but caged at the same time. It's hard to be human, think human, feel human. A hunger's arising inside of me. The beast is alive and break it free. It's hard to be human, think human, feel human. Keep putting more chains on the beast. Hope it don't break loose. You better hope so too. You better hope so too. You better hope so too.
When the hunger wakes me, I live to feed. Where the darkness surrounds me, shape shifting in the night, stalking you. Does my face seem familiar? Does my back tell you more? Will I change you or will it end you? And the power that I have can give you eternal life. Death doesn't know me. I become eternal. When the hunger wakes me, I live to feed. Where the darkness surrounds me, where the mist, she follows me. I walk alone in the night, still. I've become the living dead. I own the darkness and know how beats inside of me. I've become eternal when the hunger wakes me. I live to feed with the darkness surrounds me.
All right, folks. Welcome to Paranormal Roundtable. I'm your host, Josh Turner, and this is PRT. And as we say, join us in the real reality. I almost said will. I almost said join us in the real reality. Yeah, that would have gone over really well. Oh, dang, what the heck is going on here?
Reality wheel. Real reality. Oh, crap.
Man, I ate some granola, man. It is just like, well, it's not granola. It's like this. They have these things now. A friend of mine who's a fighter turned me on to these. He's like, hey, man, these are awesome. He's ripped. He likes to eat snacks, but they're, snacks are fattening, is unhealthy. And so he's like, dude, try these. And I was going to bring one on and show you guys, and I left it at the house. They have like blackberry, apple, cherry. There's another one too. They're really good. Blueberry. And so I had one of those earlier because I had to take my vitamins because to have something fat soluble. So it has a little bit of fat in it, but it's pretty healthy, and it's like a giant fig Newton. I'm not a big fig Newton fan because they're too sweet. But you tried it, right?
Yeah.
Little what is it called? What are those called?
I didn't.
We need to bring one.
I didn't look at the wrapper. I just ate it.
Yeah, we need to bring one Friday.
I never liked fig Newtons either. They taste like crap. I don't care what anyone says.
Yeah, I'm not a big fig
It's
Newton.
garbage. The
But
best way to eat them is to throw them in the trash.
They had some that were strawberry though. Those were actually pretty good. I don't like the figs. I don't like figs. But this one is good. I'll bring it. I'll show you. And they're not super expensive, but they're actually very good tasting. They taste really, really good. And so, yeah, I like them. I mean, so I had to eat one of those before I left the house because my wife don't cook.
Crap, but that reminds me. I put like a couple of tacos. I warmed them up.
You left them in the
to eat
microwave?
them, and then I walked out the door.
Jeez,
Damn it.
Fate, how you mock us.
How cruel life can be.
Yeah, and those are the ones from Taco Shack, right?
Yeah.
Those pretty
I
good.
was looking forward to those too. Like, man,
The
it's gonna be
Shack
awesome.
tacos, man. Those Shack tacos, man.
I could eat like 4 of those. Probably. I think the most I've eaten is like 6 of them.
Work. I'm so tired of work, dude.
Yeah. I remember C-Lab 2021, Sean. But that was on when I was a kid, so I didn't really get the humor, but I would still watch it.
Oh, God, what is going on here?
What?
I just told the guard to stand by. I put Satan by.
Oh, man. It's this damn technology.
Dude, I'm telling you, man.
It's the playground for demons.
We're having phone problems big time, dude. Like, I don't know what's going on with our phones.
It's these screens.
That's great. Now this guy's going to think, wow. Well, he's known me for a couple of years. He knows I'm not no weirdo. So I talked to the people from History Channel today. I'm just letting some people get in here, guys, get in the chat. We got a show for you tonight, man. It's going to be good. It always is. So, but I talked to the people, and I've decided that I'm not going to tell my story,
Uh-huh.
but they're probably going to have me come on as a consultant.
Yeah.
So that's a good thing, because I just don't have time to do it and then fly and do all this. I don't have the time for that. I just can't right now. We're in transition in our company. There's a lot. I mean, it's just too much going on. I just don't have the time. And so, but there are going to be several people who have told their encounters that are going to be on the show. So I'm happy about that. They interviewed another one of our people, our paratroopers today that a lot of people might know. But I'm not going to say anything until the show, comes out, and then you guys can see it, whatever. It's going to be interesting. They're going to have 8 episodes, and it's going to be like 5 encounters per episode.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So it's going to be cool.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be neat. So anyways, folks, hey, so we have to change the giveaways. We can no longer do the members only giveaways.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah. So we have to, because it's considered like a lottery or something. I don't know what it is, whatever.
Yeah.
So we can't do it. I didn't know that. I had no clue that was the
I didn't
case.
either.
So we're not going to do that anymore. But we're not going to do the giveaway.
We're still
tonight.
going to mail off the stuff. But
Tomorrow we have to. We have no choice.
Yeah.
I mean, it is just, we're way behind. We're way behind. We are in upheaval right now with our job, our careers, we're changing some things. I'm not going to get into it, but just suffice it to say, it's a giant pain in the butt, and it's going to be a huge change, but it has to happen. And so I'm not complaining. It's just, I'm not happy about it. Everybody, it's just more work, and not more pay. It's actually less pay for more work. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. Awesome.
Which really sucks. I hate it, but what are we going to do? So the members thing, the only reason we started doing that was because we needed to do something for the members, because we don't put things behind the paywall.
Yeah.
But now we are. We're going to put part of our content is going to start going to a website. We just haven't decided the date on it because I don't have time to do hardly anything between, doing the show and my job and everything else we got going on and all the stuff in my personal life. It is like so hard to find the time to do these things. But so that's what we're going to do. We're going to have to figure something out for the members. We don't know what we're going to do yet. We may have to start doing like one show. Like we'll do an extra show a week or something just for the members. I just don't know what to do. So yeah, we're going to start doing like one members only show. And then we're going to do like 2 shows that are going to go behind the paywall. The thing I'm going to try very hard to do is just do an extra hour or just like 2 extra 1-hour shows, pre-records, and we'll throw them onto the website, and you can do that. It's $9.99. That's what we're talking about. It's like $10 basically. Yeah. So you guys can, I mean, come on, it's been 6 years, dude. I mean, 6 years, and we just can't do it. We prided ourselves, and we do pride ourselves on not putting anything behind a paywall. And of course the ops are running their mouths. Oh, fat bastard decided to put everything behind a paywall. Like, yeah, 6 years later, dumb shits. I mean, we did everything we could. We tried. We weren't making enough money to keep the show going. What do you do? It's either that or the show is gone, because we are taking so much time away from our jobs. Can you get something to plug that in?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, this watch. Somebody said something about the watch. It's an Invicta. It's not a real expensive watch either. It's cool, though. It's like that army color. I've had this one for a few years. I've only worn it a few times on the show. I like it. I like that color. But yeah. Yeah, thank you, Maddie, for that. Yeah, we're not. We're one of the last of the Mohicans to put things behind a paywall. Everybody we know is putting things behind a paywall, and all of my peers, they are all doing it. Every one of them. There's not one that's not. Everybody's doing it but me, pretty much. And so, you know, these people can say what they want, but I held out as long as I could. And we haven't done it yet. I just know that things are going to be a little tight money-wise with the job, that we have to make a bunch of changes, and it's going to cost us a bunch of money. Hopefully in the long run, it'll work out. But in the short run, it's going to suck. Can't really say how this is going to work, you know, but I got to do what I got to do. Yeah, the Bigfoot podcasting shorts. Yeah, I saw those. It just looks like a big gorilla, though. It doesn't look like Bigfoot. It just looks like King Kong or something. Well, most channels, as soon as they start making a little headway, the first thing they do is run and go get a paywall. And you know, I say run and go. I'm not chastising them, but like, you know, nobody's calling them out on it. Nobody's attacking them and saying the brutal things like, you know, or whatever. I mean, they're just attacking me, and I waited 6 years, you know. And it's like, dude, I mean, if I was working any other field, I would be like expecting to get paid big money because I've been doing this for as long as I have, and I'm not doing that.
People are only attacking you because they can't measure up. That's all it is.
Yeah, well, just say you. They're attacking us, PRT.
Mm-hmm.
We are all PRT, the paratroopers included.
But it's like, what other show are you going to learn like things related to not just the paranormal, but history, science, mathematics, and how it all is relevant to the subject matter? Like, who else is doing that? A handful of people, maybe. You know, like Jason Bland. I don't think Rob Yox is still doing his show.
I think he is.
But he's hyper intelligent too.
But their shows aren't very big. They're not, you know, they don't get a lot of acclaim.
Yeah. I mean, like, that's why they're not really
by all the noise
targeted.
You know what shows are doing good? These faceless shows where they just make up stories. And I promise you 100% they are just AI made up stories. I mean, there's a couple of them out there, and it's just bullshit. That's all it is. You don't know who it is putting it out. It's faceless YouTube spam stories.
Yeah.
And they have one now that's just Dogman account. And they did one the other day that was like Austin and Count Dogman or something. It was just absolute bullshit. It was just some AI generated shit. And I don't know if the numbers are real. Most people's numbers are fake nowadays, but it was just bullcrap. It was just, I was like, what is this, man? I mean, it was just, but there were some people listening. You could see there were people commenting and stuff. You're just like, dude, what? No bueno, dude. It's just crap, you know? But here at PRT, that's the problem though, is that it's so much. But the good thing is, you know, Monday show. Take Monday, for example. Monday is important, and I'll tell you why. We don't make a lot of money on Monday. We don't get much donations, hardly at all. We haven't even gotten one donation tonight. We're not doing very well financially. And if that's what these people think, we're out here trying to make a bunch of money, that's not happening. You can see that it's not happening. But Mondays are important because it shows you look how many people get on there and try to tell their encounters. Quite a few. And it happens every Monday consistently. And I promise you, it'll happen again next Monday. And also, I did not know that JD was going to show up. He had just said when we were at Juiceland a couple of weeks ago that he was going to pop on one day on a Monday, and he did. I didn't ask him to come on. These people think that they actually think that I brought him out as a token to prove that I'm not racist. I don't give a crap what you think. I don't give a flipping flying F word what you think about whether I'm racist or not. If you want to believe that, you believe whatever the F you want. Because
what are you going to do about it?
Because even if I am, and even if I do love Hitler, which y'all keep saying I do, so what? So what? So does Kanye West. Doesn't make it, you know, who gives a flipping crap?
They're just mad because they can't do nothing about it.
You're mad because you hate us because you ain't us. That's it. That's all it is.
Impotent rage from a tiny man.
And they actually
little man
actually said that well, there's a big fat woman here that helps him, Kool-Aid. It's funny because she actually said something like one of these haters. It ain't important who she. I ain't gonna say her name. They want me to say their names. I won't. But they said something about, oh, well, Hitler wasn't actually racist. Oh, like, what the freak, you know? And then they said that's why I like him or something stupid like that. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, when does the babbling and insanity ever stop with you people? Like, when does it ever go like to a point where you're just like, okay, we've gone too far. We've crossed the Rubicon 3 times on this one. Let's, we've gone too far. Does it ever get to that point where these stop and you just go, man? And how do you get so far down that you start, that you're lying, that it's all slander? Does it ever get to the point where you say, hey man, this is why am I helping this guy? Why am I helping this ringleader? Why are you helping him? Does it ever get to that point where you stop and you think about the sin? Do you ever stop and think about the absolute absurdity, the morality of it? I mean, that you're lying, you're making up stuff to slander people. All the people, and then they talk about people I fought. Well, people I fought, they were defending. I was defending myself and my people, and they were defending themselves. Look at all the people y'all have attacked. They've attacked so many people. And there's another one recently that they attacked who doesn't want to be mentioned because he's afraid they'll make it worse. I was like, well, it's going to get worse regardless. And he's a pretty nice guy. A lot of people like him, and he's enduring it. I'm not talking about Harley. I mean, Harley was one they attacked too, but I'm not talking about Helbin Holler or any of them other, Jerry and Ella. I'm not talking about Bettina and Abe, all them. There's a whole bunch of people they've attacked. Mm-hmm. It just goes on and on. But I'm saying, like, somebody recently that they attacked, the guy was in the hospital when they started in on him. And you're just like, what is wrong? Where is the moral compass for these people? Is there nothing you won't do? You will lie and slander, and you would sell your soul for $1. And then you want to talk about me? You strain on a gnat and swallow a camel. Ridiculous behavior from these people, man. I mean, it is so freaking ridiculous. And then they get so mad because all we're doing is just being us.
Thank you, David Dean, Paula King, for your super chats.
Thank you for the donations.
And also, Franny wants to know, he or she, I'm not sure, donated on PayPal. So thank you for that.
Oh, we appreciate that. You can post the PayPal link, Natty. So if they want to do it that way, either way, it doesn't matter. But the bottom line is this, if we were doing this for the money, the paywall would have been up a long time ago. 6 years? You think I'm going to wait? Playing the long game.
Yeah.
6 years. Reel you in. Now I got you.
That's a pretty bad financial decision if you're doing it for the money to wait 6 years.
I'm telling you, dude. And Harpin Blues is working out by merch. That's the thing. The guy's been on us about going over there and getting it done, and we just can't. We just don't have time. I just don't have enough time. I don't have time. And we're losing, revenue from that, But things, I'm going to have to slow down. Things are going to change. I'm going to have to take some time and just get things done. I just have too much going on in my life. The stress is so bad. So what I did today, and this is how we're going to start the show here, because we got 258 people in here. We usually do pretty big numbers on Wednesdays and Sundays. So I'm kind of letting people come in because they'll come in and not know what's going on. They will not have a clue. And then they'll be like, what did I miss? You missed quite a bit. But here's the thing. This is, if you want to help out the show, you can do it through PayPal. That's the best way to do it. Just do it that way. But we have a Patreon too that really 50, 40, 30, 20, all the way down to 10. Sean says Cash App. Well, you would have to do it. We don't really have a Cash App link.
Not for the show.
For the show.
If you have me on if you find me on Facebook, Sean, you can send me a message and I'll send you a link to a Cash App you can send it to.
Yeah. Did you hear that?
What, like an owl?
It's not like a voice. Owl. It was an owl?
I mean, no, I don't think it was an owl. I'm just that was the closest thing that it sounded to. Kind of like a who.
Kinda?
Mm-hmm.
I thought it sounded like a voice.
Like a weird female voice or an owl, kind of like high pitched.
It sounded like a voice right here.
Mm-hmm.
The studio is certifiably haunted for sure at this point. I think it's just all the stuff we've talked about.
Hmm.
I think it goes back to that Brazilian exorcist. That's what I think. That's when it really, I never noticed it before that. I mean, Nick, who used to have that room, he used to talk about it.
Yeah.
And then I didn't really, Sean says he's banned from Facebook. Oh, well.
It's pretty easy to get banned from there now.
Yeah. So here's what we got. So I was at the gym earlier. I went early today. I usually go at night, late at night. You know, people that know me, they know I do that. But tonight I just went ahead and went. And it was there were some people that I talked to today. I was doing my workout, and there were these guys that were there. They were young guys, and they were lifting, and they weren't lifting incorrect. They were just lifting, you know.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'll help out, and I'll tell some people, hey, you know, do it this way, do it that way. And so I did that a few times, like today, just because there was a lot of people there. And I would say this guy's not lifting incorrectly. He was doing a shoulder press, and he was doing like a lot of weight, and he didn't have a spot.
Yeah.
And so I asked him if he needed a spot, because I was like in between sets and I was resting. And he had another guy with him, and they were from Spain. And the other dude did not look strong enough to help this guy. And so I just kind of kept an eye on them. They were younger dudes, man. And I just did my workout. And sure enough, he needed it, and the other guy couldn't. So I ran over there and I helped him. And then we started talking, you know, and I told him a couple of techniques, you know, because he was trying to do that, you know. That's a dangerous thing. I mean, like you just kind of you sit back and you do it up like this instead of like, you know, like that.
Yeah, that military press.
Yeah, and I said you got to be careful with that because you're doing quite a bit of weight, but you have to have somebody you can trust, because you could go too far forward on. It's not important about the working out, whatever, but you could be hurt, you know. And so we started talking, and then he was talking about rotator cuff, and then the other guy we were talking to about it, you remember?
Mm-hmm.
And you showed him the exercise. So I showed these guys an exercise. Like you take a dumbbell, and this is for anybody who works out. You take a dumbbell, pretend like this is a dumbbell, and you just put your arm right up against your body, and you go like this and go out. And it works this like little muscle back there that doesn't get hit through shoulder press, military, all these other different types of
Yeah.
It doesn't get hit. So you have to do it. And so this guy was doing it, and his friend, like I said, was not strong. Well, I mean, he might have been strong, but he wasn't strong enough to help him with what he was doing.
Mm-hmm.
And so we started talking, and then another guy came up. And so two of them were brothers, and one of them was their cousin. And we started talking, and I told him, I said, I have a show I do about paranormal roundtable, whatever. And I said, sometimes we talk about exercise. Sometimes we'll talk about supplements and things like that. And the one guy, I guess while I took off and went to go do my triceps, he comes back up to me, and he had his phone, and he's like, is this you? And I was like, I looked, and I was like, yeah, that's the show right there. And it was on Spotify. And he goes, okay. And I said, but YouTube is where we do a lot of our work. We only do a Spotify once a week. And so we were so busy that yesterday we didn't get the show out, obviously. But it'll be out tomorrow.
Yeah.
Thursday. We'll drop it tomorrow. And that'll be the podcast episode. So be looking for that tomorrow. It's a conclusion with Joe Stone. And then next week we're going to do some work with Gloria Hernandez, who is one of the sisters of the Hernandez Ranch. We don't talk about that. There's two sisters. We don't talk about them very much because one of them lived both of them lived out of state. But Gloria moved back, her and her husband, because they're like, he's got a job down here, and he's going to try, like we were talking, he's going to work another 10 years and then retire. People are retiring at like 60, 65 now. Used to be 55.
Yeah.
I won't be able to retire at 55. I can tell you that. I'll be working until I die. That's just me. But yeah, and so I was trying to talk to her, and her grandkids were just in the background, like, you know, destroying things, you know. So we had to call back a couple times on Saturday. It was back and forth. Finally, I finished the conversation. So we got some encounters from her. And it's interesting because it would kind of go along with some of the things we're going to talk about tonight. But anyway, I thought it was interesting what these guys had told me. So the one guy was telling me, he's like, we're from Spain. And this was just today, right? At the gym earlier today. We went in 2 or 3, something like that. And they were telling me that they they argued kind of amongst themselves, not argued, but like disagreed with what the adults thought it was when they were children. These aren't kids now; they're in their 20s, but when they were children, they were accused of lying about this creature that they saw. And I told these guys, they asked me if I did Bigfoot. I said, yeah, we do a lot of Bigfoot stuff because the logo, they saw the logo, right? And the one of them was kind of paying attention, and he said, yeah. And he's like, so he told his cousin, he was like, he walked up, the cousin walked up when I was talking to the youngest one. And I guess that the cousin, the other brother, and they're probably, he's a little younger than you probably. So he may not be in his 20s. He's probably in his early 30s. And then the other ones are in their late 20s.
Mm-hmm.
But when they were children, they saw something and they got accused of lying about it. And so one of them two of them had been here. They've been here since they were like in their early formative years, whatever. Their mother moved them here to be with their grandfather who was living here. And then the dad joined them a couple years later. Like he would just come every 3 months and then go back. And it was a struggle. And eventually they moved here. And the cousin came a couple years later now. And so, but when they were real little, when they were real small, they had something that happened. So they started talking to me. And the whole time I was like doing my workout, my triceps, whatever. And they were telling me this. And I said, dude, I might just start off the show with that. And then it gave me the idea for the show tonight. I was like, you know what? There was a couple other episodes that I was thinking about making, stories. I'm sorry, putting the encounters together. And I thought that it was weird because me and Anthony had talked prior about the show and like what we were going to do tonight. We were just kind of going around, and I said, yeah, I think I'm going to do these. And so I kind of go over them, and I'll show him and Tony and whoever. And then most of the time, you okay? Bless you.
Yeah, I sneezed.
Sometimes I ask y'all's opinion. Sometimes I don't. And sometimes it works out. So what ended up transpiring was they gave me an encounter, and it was kind of told in 3 parts because one of them would go and do their work and they would come back. So we just started talking, and the whole time I'm still trying to lift because I got to get my workout done. But they debated they called it a Bigfoot. At first it was like a Bigfoot. I said, I told you, Anthony, I was like, this is not a Bigfoot. I mean, because the cousin of the 2 brothers, he says now, he goes, I don't think it was. He's like, I don't think that's what it was. He told me point blank. He's like, I was the oldest. He's like, and I saw it. And he saw it 3 times. He saw it 3 times. Finally, an adult saw it. Right? They live they live outside of a town that's about 80 miles outside of Barcelona. And so they were living out on a ranch. And the town is a small little, it's a hamlet, whatever, but that's where they hailed from. But there was this creature, and they got some other stuff too. They have some other stuff. It's crazy. They saw this, the youngest one saw a minotaur-like creature looking in his window when he was a child. And he thinks that it's something that follows his family. But I mean, a minotaur, kind of like the face, looks bull-like, but it's kind of like a human-looking face. But it's got horns like a bull. And he was telling me all about this. And then the oldest one, the oldest cousin, he was telling me that when he first came here, not only did they see that creature together, but then when they first came, the first year they were here in the summertime before school started, they were out running around out here outside of Austin, outside of Cedar Park, and they saw something weird. And this thing that they saw, which is what inspired me to go ahead and do this episode tonight about portals. Is that the title?
Yeah.
Hold on. So they had this weird thing, whatever it was, it kind of followed them. They believed that it followed them from Spain and that it came through a portal. Now, they didn't tell me this thing came through a portal. They were just telling me a raw encounter of what happened to them when they were hanging out down near Brushy Creek. Now, we've talked about Brushy Creek on the phone. I mean, on the show. And Eric Palacios did a documentary on the Beast of Brushy Creek.
Yeah.
And we've talked about this. This is a legend, and people to this day see these things. And I'm convinced that there's a lot of people, I was on the phone with that, one of the producers of that show today, and we were talking, and I told her, I was like, think about how many people give us stories. Now think about all the people who don't. There was a woman whose father was on his deathbed, and he told her a bunch of crazy, weird stuff that had happened. She gave me some stories from her father that was passing over, and he was seeing something on the other side. It was really interesting. And then there was another woman who gave us a story. Well, it wasn't a story. It was like a series of encounters that her dad had from when he was living down in Buda, which is south of Austin. And she told us, she was a waitress, and she had told us, she says, my dad, one day, she goes, I was nearly 30 years old. And we were eating dinner with some people, with some friends, and my dad just starts talking about having seen some weird stuff. And she's like, and I'm almost 30 years old, and I'm going like, am I just hearing about this? And he was just like, nobody ever asked me.
Never came up.
It never came up. And she was like, that's crazy. And so she told him, she's like, you need to tell Josh Turner. And he's like, who's Josh Turner? The country singer?
Mm-hmm.
You don't know who I am. So yeah, it was interesting. And so he started putting them together for her, and she started sending them to me. It was a recurring theme, but it was weird because it was like this shadow thing, right? So that's one of the things I wanted to talk about tonight. I'll talk about hers, but that just goes to show you like how many people, because so the show that I was going to do tonight ended up kind of changing, and we ended up going with these other encounters. And I'll start with these guys from Spain, the ones that were at the gym today. I mean, it was just so crazy. It was incredible what happened. And like I said, they have some other stuff they're gonna put it together and email it to me. One of them already did. He already emailed some stuff and he subscribed to the show, whatever. But he said that it was weird. Like one of the things that happened, they saw this greenish blue ball of light bouncing around in the pasture when they were kids and they were on 4-wheelers. And we've heard this kind of stuff many times. Mm-hmm. People out there just doing whatever. And it was getting dark. So they all just kind of thought it was an oddity. And they were little. They were like 6 and they were 8 and 9. And the other one was like, I think 12 or 13. He was 13. He was 13. And so they all just headed back. And, they were told as children, not to go too far down near this one river that was there, like creek, whatever they call it a river. It was like a creek. And they told them, they said, don't go play down there because there's weird things that come out of that water. And they had something that had snatched up a couple of cows, and they had found the cows partially eaten. Think about that. Like the cow is chewed up on, but not completely devoured, but just chewed up on and left by the bank of this river by where they lived. And then they, were chastised for going and playing down there. And of course, there was this bull that they had that was down on the other side of the pasture. And he was friendly to the kids, but he didn't like anybody else. He just liked them and a couple other kids. He didn't like the adults or anything. And when the one had his encounter with something that looked like a minotaur in his window, they just said, oh, it's the bull. Right? And that was Alexander. Alexander had the Hold on one second.
Go ahead.
But Alexander had the encounter with what can only be described as a minotaur that looked at him through the window. But when he stared at it, he got up and he got off of his bed and he looked, and this thing backed up, and he could see like red glowing eyes that were getting bigger. They were getting bigger, and that it was a full bodied, like it was not it wasn't just a head. It wasn't down like this, like 4 legs. It was on 2 legs. And he's like, it wasn't the bull. It was not the bull. And the other guy they call Pancho, that's his nickname. That's not his real name. It's his girlfriend. She's from Mexico, and she gave him that nickname. But this guy, he's from Spain. And he's like, my girlfriend calls me Pancho. And and there's a story behind it too, but it's not important. But anyway, that's his nickname. That's not his real name. And so this guy, Pancho, basically told me, he says, look, man, he goes, and they speak pretty good English. They were tutored in English, and they were pretty well off when they were kids. And they lived in a pretty nice place. And he said, when we were children, he goes, we had a babysitter, a nanny. They would come and take care of us. He goes, and I only came to the ranch and stayed at the hacienda, for the summer and different times, when we were out of school. The other time I lived in town. This is the cousin. And he said that when we were there, I would spend almost the entire summer there because it was glorious. It was wonderful. He's like, and we had a great time. He's like, but we had this really like the way they described her was like she was nice, but she would scare the hell out of them, and she got off on it. Right?
Then how was she nice?
She was nice. She was like she would give them snacks and let them do stuff and go swim and
like scare them with like pranks or what?
No, scare them with stories.
Oh,
but she would scare the living hell out of them with stories, and they'd be like, "Good night," and then they were just like, "Dude, this is crazy. Why are you telling us all this?" And then saying good night and go to bed. So I told him, I said, that actually seems to be par for the course for babysitters. They want to tell you I used to have a babysitter that did that. Mm-hmm. Tell me a bunch of horrible shit and then be like, well, go to bed.
Seems counterproductive because you would want the kids to go to bed.
Yeah. I mean, and I kept waking up going like, hey, I can't sleep. Well, because you're telling me this crazy shit and I'm living in a house where there was something going on. I could see stuff, but it wasn't terrible for me. Thank you for that, Appalachian Jimmy. Hope you're doing good. And so this ends up happening like to where they couldn't sleep at night. But the old saying, just because you're paranoid doesn't mean they're not out to get you.
Yeah.
So just because
you're crazy don't mean you're wrong.
Yeah. Just because she's saying all kinds of wild crap don't mean it's not happening, because it was very much happening. And that was the problem. Because they would have stuff happening and they would hear knocking and slapping on the hallway doors and stuff. Like they would hear their door, someone would slap, like it would walk through the hallway. So they told me several things, and then they emailed me some, and I read a couple of them when I was first getting here. I was reading them, but I can't get into all of it. It's a lot of stuff. But this green ball of light that they saw, which was the first time they saw it. They saw it again like the next night and the next night. And it went on for like 2 or 3 nights. And they got to where they were going out there and kind of looking for it. And they took their mother's camera or her phone, whatever, to take pictures. And, the phones back then, they weren't the best, whatever. But I mean, well, they were decent. They're not as good as they are now, but they were able to snap photos and things like that. And, these guys, I mean, like you're what, 15 years, it'd be 17 years ago when this happened. And what were cameras like back then? I mean, the cell phones, not good, not great quality,
It's like when smartphones were first becoming a thing.
Yeah. They were just now starting to, so they took the phone and the mother got irate. She called them and says, you better bring me my phone back, before I whoop your ass, whatever. So they went back. So they took pictures of the orb. And the mother was like, what is that? I could just see her talking. What is that? Why you take a picture of that? And so they just said, she said that their mother told them it looked like a beach ball floating in the air. Well, the cuteness of it ended a couple nights later, it started storming really bad, and they were all in one of them's bedroom. And this is the thing, you know, you want to say, hey, you know, we're not afraid. We're not afraid. You know what I mean? But, you know, and they had already told the adults, you know, that this was going on. The mother showed a picture to the dad. He wasn't convinced. So they wanted to get a photo of it through the window, but it was raining. And so they decided that they needed to go outside because they could see it floating around and it was lit up. And even though they told a couple of the adults that were there, nobody listened. When they get outside, now there was this kind of a carport, you know, these are wealthy people. They have this nice like carport that's like big and it's detached from the house. And then there's like another little, it's not a garage. It's like another like little living area, quarters. And that's where their parents' butler lived. They had a butler, yeah, and a couple maids that actually didn't. The butler stayed on the property. The maids did not. They would come and they would work during the day and they would cook and stuff like that. The way they were describing it. So there was like this little over like awning, you know, for this carport. So they go out there so they don't get in the rain. Well, the problem is, you know, it was summertime and it was like they were all hanging out and the parents were not paying attention, whatever. They were watching movies and they had an older sister who was not interested in anything they were doing and two older sisters. And so they go out into the rain. They dare each other because they can see it, this thing bobbing around. Now, for me, like if I told an adult it's right there, most of the adults in my life would have gone out and looked. But apparently these adults didn't give a damn enough to listen to these kids. And so what ended up happening, they standing there under that awning and they dare the youngest one to go out, and his name is James, Jaime. They said, Jaime, go out and look, go toward it. Now, he's little. So he wants to like please them and be like, oh, okay. So he goes out out in the rain, going towards it. He says he gets about halfway he's like, it's not pouring down at that point. It was just raining. He goes, the rain had slowed down. He's like, and I walk out there and I see this ball of light start to swirl. It starts to spin. He's like, and then it kind of drops down, and the way he was trying to describe was an oval. He didn't say that, but I know that's what he was trying to say. And out of this oval steps this being that came out sideways like a line. Now, when he said that, he said it was like a line, like a black line that you could see through the greenish yellow, which became yellow. And it stepped out of this, like, that only could be described as a portal. It's kind of like what Dick Richards, I don't know if you're in the chat, Dick, but he talked about this beings that came out of these portals. And he said this creature, when it turned and it looked at him, it was like a scrawny looking wolf-like creature. He's like, but it was weird because like it stepped out and then it immediately went down on all fours and started running at a weird clip towards him. By words, but he said it was going towards him, and he goes, dude, I take off running back and I get back to the awning and I'm telling my siblings, he's like, right there's something that just came out of there and it's coming towards us. And they didn't believe him because they didn't see it. And like he was shocked by that because it wasn't pouring down rain where there was no visibility. And they were just like, where? I don't believe you. So they just kept standing there like dum-dums. And he says, I pushed past him and just ran inside. And I was like, not interested. He goes, and we had a butler. We had this guy named Rod that used to be the butler, whatever. And he came out and he was like, what's going on, man? Why are you kids, yelling and screaming, whatever. The two that were still standing there, then they saw it. This creature that was running towards him. It was large. It was gray, but it was kind of skinny arms, skinny legs. But like the arms and the legs were only skinny, like where the forearms and the lower part of the legs should have been. When it stood up, there was this backward bent legs and they heard a pop. They look up and there was a bright light and it went, and the light was gone. And they see this creature just standing there and it's looking at them. And they all just bolt inside to the butler's quarters. At that point, Rod was, he was telephoning to the main house like, hey, they had security there. He said, send somebody out here. There's something out here. He didn't tell them exactly what it was. At that point, he was like really more concerned with just getting someone to help, and then when the security came out, they saw it, they called the police. This thing took off running into the woods and it was gone. And they thought that was the end of it. This thing right here was definitely a wolf-like, werewolf-looking dogman type creature. But they said that thing was not what they saw attack the cows. Now, a couple years after this, they would hear howling at night. They would hear things would happen. And they were getting, cows were being attacked, and they would, out on the ranch. The adults weren't sure what it was. They were seeing these weird footprints, and the kids kept telling them, hey, man, there's this creature and they just said, we don't want to hear any more about this. Nobody has seen this but you. The butler, the guy that I call him the butler, their servant or whatever that worked there, that lived there, he was an older guy who had been working for the family for years, and he did not tell the other adults. He didn't do them any favors. He didn't confirm what they saw. They swear up and down that he saw it, but he refused to tell because he didn't want to lose his job. Because when he started talking about it to their dad, the dad of the two boys that were brothers, told them, now think about what you're going to say. Basically put him on notice. So he didn't say it. So then they have this encounter with this creature that after they found the second cow that was chewed up and tore up, they see this thing come out of the woods. It looks like a Bigfoot to them. That's what they described it as. But the older one, the cousin, he says, I don't think it was a Bigfoot. He's like, and I saw it 3 times. He's like, we stayed there at that manor whenever they had gone to the United States. And the first time they had gone and they stayed for a while, then they came back and they went back. And so they were not, it was not, and their mother's half American. That's why they were over here, because their mother's dad is from here. So they were not interested in hearing what these kids had to say. But he goes, the older one, he told me, he's like, look, he goes, I know what I saw. He's one they call Poncho. And he says, these two didn't witness what I did. He goes, and the oldest one that is they call him Poncho. Their other two are Horatio and Alexander. And Alexander basically was Alex. Alexandria or whatever, but they call him Alex. But Alex was like, no, man. He's like, I was a kid. I saw it one time. He goes, but I know what it was. When this thing came out, it had a snout. Because he told me, he's like, it had a snout. And he goes, but it didn't look anything like that wolf-like creature. It just looked like a Bigfoot with a snout. But it had ears like a wolf kind of, but they were small. They were real small. That the other thing had big ears. So it was totally 2 different things, and they were absolutely, convinced that it was 2 different things. This thing turned and walked into the woods, and they didn't see it again after it drug the cow and tore parts of it off and was taking off with it. The backside of it had a big old butt, big, thick legs. They weren't backward bent like the first creature. They were adamant about that. And they started telling me that they had seen this thing like a second time. It was the older of their 2 brothers, Horatio, and then his cousin, Poncho. And Poncho, that's not his real name, like I said. But that guy was convinced, because after they had left to go to the United States, he's like, I stayed there at that house. And it's crazy because we were at the gun show. You remember? Mm-hmm. And that guy was talking about Camp Bullis, and that police officer. Mm-hmm. He was talking about Camp Bullis. He's a sheriff's deputy, and we need to give him the information to the show. We have his business card, so that he can go to the show. I want him to come on and talk about this. And he had a guy that worked security there. You remember?
Yeah.
And he said that this thing had, like, it was a wolf-like creature, like a big wolf-like creature. And we just had that. That guy told us on Saturday, right?
Yeah.
And then I got this other story from this woman on Saturday, which was Gloria Hernandez. And it was portals. It was just portals. It kept on being the theme. And now here these guys were, and they were talking about this. And when I told them, I said, tonight's show, I think I'm going to talk about portals, because it was, another person had given us stories about it. And so they said, hey, man, we've seen something like this. When I described the portal and what it was, like, they were like, yeah, there was something that. So the oldest one, the cousin, he saw it 2 more times. The second time was real brief. He was with his dad, and this thing ran across the road, like on a dirt road. And they freaked out. It was near an olive vineyard, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then he said that the third time, and it was close, it was in the adjacent property to the ranch. The third time he saw this creature, him and his friend saw it go into a portal and disappear. And now, to this day, nobody has seen it again. But it was seen by at least 3 different people besides himself and his dad that were on that property. 2 workers and the 2 boys' dad. The one that was always like, oh, don't talk about it, don't do that.
Yeah.
He saw it too. In fact, he was walking out to go to his SUV one day right there by the house, and this thing was right there by the SUV. It stood up. It was like he could see a hand, like a hairy hand on the top of his SUV. And he goes and look, and this thing stands up, and it was like right there. Now, this thing kills your cows. It could kill you.
Yeah.
And it came around the other side. He goes, it was about 7-8 feet tall, from the description of what these boys were telling me. Well, they're not boys, but, young guys. And I was listening to this, and they said that when this thing came around the other side of the vehicle, he took off running inside. Because I asked him all kinds of questions. I was like, did he run or what happened? Yeah, he ran inside. And I thought, why is he running? I thought it wasn't real. I always trip out when people end up having to deal when they face it.
Yeah.
And the thing shows itself to them. And then they're
like, what are you afraid of?
I thought you were not afraid.
Don't you know you're just hallucinating? It's just your mind playing tricks on you. That's all it is.
Real, man.
I mean, what are you, stupid or something? Only stupid people believe in the werewolves.
Mm-hmm.
So
when he runs back inside, of course, he grabs a firearm, and then he calls, the police, whatever. He filled out a report. But he told them what it was, what he saw. This guy's pretty wealthy, and they're not telling him, hey, you didn't see what you saw. Years later, they were eating dinner on a Christmas day, and they started talking about this creature. Years later, as in just a few years ago, they were eating dinner, and they all started talking about it. They were like, you remember that creature, blah, blah, blah. But now here's the real kick in the ass, is that he believes in what he saw, their dad. But he doesn't believe them about the first creature. Yeah.
It's funny how that works with some people.
And so he was like, well, why would there be 2 of them? And they were like, because these things are coming out of a portal. Talking to their grandfather on their dad's side, he claimed that land, that he had seen something like that years ago. And he had shot at one of these things with a rifle, a Winchester, no less. And said that this thing that he saw looked very much like a Sasquatch, like a Bigfoot, and even called it that. And these guys were like, no, this thing wasn't a Bigfoot, but because they differed on what these things looked like. But I told them, I said, there could have been multiple creatures doing this. I mean, this could have been like, who knows what's coming out of those portals.
Yeah.
So in that case, with that story there, and that's pretty much the end of it. I mean, that's all I got from them. But that was quite a bit. And it was just like the guy that we talked to at the gun show that was telling us all that stuff, That's why I tell people if you're doing this, and then I talked to another a young lady there. You know, we started talking, and she went through addiction, and she's had things happen to her, and she's going to contact me hopefully and tell, you know. But if you can go to the gym or a gun show and get encounters, like I don't understand these people, how they can't do this. If you're just sitting around waiting for somebody to be your guest all the time, because why? Because everybody has a story, but not everybody's going to tell it or, you know, come on the show, whatever. And I was talking to the producers of that History Channel thing, and then, you know, and the thing about that too is like I'll say it again. The people that are willing to tell you an encounter, you're going to get a lot more people that'll do that. The people that are willing to come out and talk about it on audio, that decreases that number exponentially. The people that are willing to give out their real names and do it and say, that's even less. And the people that are willing to do it audio and visually, that number goes way down. And then the people that are willing to go out and do it on syndicated radio or like TV show, that number goes even way further down, because there are some people, and we've had them on this show. We've talked to like the guy, Mike, that came on and talked about the reptilian biting the dude's head. Like, I don't even know how to get a hold of him at this point, but there's been a multitude of people. But I mean, how many of those people are willing to go out and say it on a national or an international television show?
Yeah, very few.
Yeah, that's the problem. I mean, so, you know, I gave them, though, probably 30, 40 people. I mean, surely they should be able to piece it together from that. And hey, Bigfoot Rob, we talked about you today, Rob. She got your encounter. She got your story. I don't know if they're going to use that or not, but it looks like, I think every episode is probably going to have some Bigfoot and Dogman in it. So yay, you know. But couple of people I gave them that had some really knocking out of the park stories, and they got their information, but they don't want to tell it. Like they told it to them, but they don't want to do it on TV.
Yeah.
And that's a bummer, because a couple of them were vampire encounters, and I was like, well, oh well. And one of them most recently, you know, that came on the show. I mean, and then, you know, but we got to go back and look, because the last, 4 or 5 Mondays, we've had people talking about vampires and reptilians and all kinds of craziness, werewolves. If you're not paying attention, if you're not tuning into the Monday show, you really got to. We did 6 hours on Monday.
Yeah.
I don't even know how it happened. It just happened. So we did 6 hours on Monday, and it was just a bunch of people talking and telling their encounters and we talked about everything. Shade Viking. Exactly. We need more likes here. But you have this mentality, I guess, of people that are still, they don't want to be, you know, go to work and people make fun of them or whatever. There was a guy that was talking about being at work, and they were teasing him. What was that? Who was that? Was it somebody in the chat, or what was that? I thought it was somebody that was saying that they were being made fun of at work.
Yeah, I think it was someone in the live chat.
It wasn't somebody that came on the show and said that?
I don't think so.
I can't remember. But anyway, there was somebody that was saying that they were being, you know, teased or made fun of or whatever. And that's the thing. I mean, so anyway, these guys gave me their encounter, and they have more stuff. They told me they're going to email me or whatever, and they really were intrigued by that I did the cryptid thing. And I talked to probably 7, 8 people at the gym. And not all of them. I gave my information to some people, but there were 4 other people that I talked to. They didn't say they did anyway. But you know, these guys did. You know, and it's just knowing how to talk to people, and everywhere you go, throw it out there that you have a show that you do this. You should be able to get people to talk about it. You know, the problem is so many of these people that do these shows, and I'm not going to just, bag on people, but it's like, let's be honest. They can't retell an encounter. They need somebody to Like, come on and do it.
Yeah, it's a skill set.
And they don't have that. And so you're taking a whole bunch of, just immediately wipe a bunch of stuff off the table because you can't do that. And so I tell people, if you want to do a show and all you're going to do is just have a guest on every other day, whatever it is, whatever. I mean, you better be damn good at interviewing people. And I see a lot of people who I don't personally feel like they're really that good at interviewing people. They get people on there, but like the producer we were talking about, like you're listening to these interviews and you're thinking, damn, why didn't they ask that question?
Mm-hmm.
I can't listen to them because I'm sitting there and I'm going like, you have this person on, like talk about this, and they just totally just sit there and they don't do it. I mean, you don't want to lead them into something that is not, to put them on the spot or whatever, but yeah, I mean, like we want to hear what's going on. We need to know. And when you don't do that, you're doing it all, the whole thing. It just, I don't know, man. It's just a lot of people doing this that shouldn't be doing it. I'm not even lying, dude. I'm just getting sick of it because I can't listen to these people because they'll have a guess and they just waste it. Well, I'm not even talking about that. Some people can't tell their stories. Yeah, I get that. I'm talking about these people who get the chance to interview somebody, whether it's somebody from the community or somebody who's not really accustomed to the community. You'll listen to them talk and you're just like, why are they not asking these questions? The number one thing is because they're not well read enough. And that sounds like a snippy thing to say, but people get upset when I talk, but to be honest, do your freaking research. If you're going to have a show and you're going to talk to people, you read up on it. I mean, I'm not expecting everybody to read and write in a bunch of different languages, but damn, dude, I mean, like at least be able to get the information from these people. And I don't understand that. That part I just don't. I can't. And there's really no excuse for it. I hear people all the time saying, "I'm going to start a podcast." Well, everybody's going to start a podcast. Everybody's doing a podcast. And they've watered it down so much to where it's like, oh, you have a podcast. Okay, yeah, so does everybody else. Oh, I got a bottle of water. So does everybody else. Oh, you wear a hat. So do I. It's not. I don't even care anymore. It's like everybody's always, and there's like a million of them. Everybody has some kind of podcast or YouTube channel or whatever. But then it doesn't immediately take off and fly to the moon, so they just give up on it. And here we are 6 years later. So what do you think? I mean, and I stand by what, David Weatherly, I'll never forget when he said that. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. And most of these people shouldn't. Most of these people shouldn't write books. They shouldn't be on YouTube. They shouldn't be on Spotify. Bye-bye. They need to go away because you're not good at what you do. Either that or do better. Get better. Now, people have asked me, how do I get better? Do what I did. Talk to these people at the gym. Talk to people in a restaurant. Go to the smoothie gang and talk to people. That's what I do. And they may not have an encounter, but you know what? Their friends do. I bet you anything their friends do. I bet you their family does. That's the thing. And I just don't understand. I have no patience for it at all because I used to be okay with like, oh, okay, well, maybe they'll get their footing eventually, whatever. How long does it take you to get your shit together? I mean, I don't like listening to other people. I just can't do it, man. It's you sit there and you go like that is a great guest. And you just totally squandered it. You didn't talk about anything. There's the thing that people complain about. If you talk too much and the guest doesn't, well, you need to know the guest before they come on because then you'll know how much to talk. Because some of these guests have 30 minutes worth of material, and you got to be on for an hour, 2 hours. You're gonna have to do a lot of talking. And these people do like basically what's his name from like Chris Farley on Saturday Night Live, where he's interviewing people. You remember that time you were on stage and you were singing? That was awesome. And they're just like, yeah. Yeah, I remember I did that a lot. Yeah, man. You're so awesome. Yeah, you sing and stuff, and you're just like, dude, I want to throttle this person, dude. Why? How did you get this guest? How did this person go to you? How does this happen?
They probably didn't know any better.
They didn't know no better. You got ambushed by a moron, and there's a bunch of people watching it because they got a good guest, and you're just like, that person is not good at what they do. There's good and not good, and that's not good. And you see it happen over and over and over again, and you're just like, dude, why? They're not taking advantage of the situation, and it's mind numbing. And then those same dumbass people will try to criticize me, and it's like, who the F are you criticizing? What are you talking about? You're going to criticize me when I've seen you squander guest after guest after guest? Because I guess they pay a publicist or somebody to do. I don't have a publicist to do this. I get the guests on there myself. And I just say, hey, it's Josh Turner. Do you want to be on the show? Yes or no? No? Okay, fine. Go on. I don't need it. If you want to be on it, go ahead. That's why Fridays, I'm going to do this Friday and probably next Friday. And then probably not going to do it. I'm just going to have Mondays. We don't need Friday. Do we? I mean, just to interview people from the community?
Monday kind of covers that pretty well.
Yeah. Well, Mondays are people's, you get on, they can tell their encounters. Mm-hmm. Friday is to have people on from the community, but I don't know. Thank you, Danny Fell. I appreciate that. Danny has been around for a long time. Anyways, I still don't know what that is. Rice, emo, whatever. Need is subjective. Yeah, you're right. Need is subjective. I don't need it.
Oh, it's Bryce.
Is that who that is?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I see it. So, but I mean, it burns my ass though when these people will interview people and they don't. I mean, like, you need to squeeze the information as much as you can because the audience is waiting. They want to hear this. They want to know. And they don't do it. And they'll just let the person talk and talk and talk, and then they're not getting the information out of them. And they have nothing to compare it to, which is shocking to me when they have like 1,000 guests that they've had on their shows. And they're not even going back and referencing these other people that are talking about this, because then you show a pattern. It's a patternistic thing. You see, it's happened before. This is what happened before. Here it is right here, blah, blah, blah. And I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about. When I was talking with these guys, I said, dude, there are many people who have seen these things come out of portals. And I referenced the Serbian werewolf. And I told those guys, if you want to hear about it, go listen to the Serbian werewolf. That woman was grabbed on the stairwell. And they told me my brother this story. They don't speak very good English, and I don't speak Serbian.
Yeah.
Or Portuguese. That's why I had translators. But luckily, the guy from Slovenia, well, he's not from there, but he stays there quite a bit. But the Slovenian dude was able to talk very good English. He's in the international banking. He should be able to,
Mm-hmm.
But it burns me up. I can't help it, folks. I'm sorry. You see these people get these opportunities and you're like, what in the freaking hell? And it's not like I haven't had the opportunities too, but I'm saying like that you want to listen to this person, and you've heard them with other people too. So maybe if you listen to them on 4 or 5 different interviews with these morons interviewing them, then you might get the full Monty. But I shouldn't have to listen to 4 or 5 different people to get what this person has to say. Get off of YouTube. Get off of whatever, podcasting, whatever. And this one guy, he was recently talking about, I got a podcast. I do this. I talk about this and that, blah, blah, blah. And I listened. I was like, you're just garbage. Your podcast is garbage. and your opinions are garbage, and everything you say is just ridiculous. Always spouting about the Bible, and this dude, like, really? I'm not even gonna say his name because I don't want y'all going over there and watching him. He's not a friend. He was on my Facebook. I don't know how he ended up on it. And I'm just like, whatever, dude. And then I gave him an opportunity to come on too. I said, "You want to come on?" I'll tell you this. His first name is Jeremy. Go look him up. You can find him. The guy is ridiculous. And then I said, "You want to come on the show and discuss some of your wacky ass bullshit beliefs? Be my guest. I'd love to have you come on." He goes, "I'll debate you." I'm like, "I'm not trying to debate you. I want to hear what you have to say, and I'll listen, and then I'll make counterpoints if that's what you want to do." And he's like, "Well, I'll need my partner to come on too." I said, "F your partner, dude. If it's you and me, you want to talk or not? You have I have a big podcast. I don't give a shit what your podcast is. It's big to you. And people that are stupid are going to go and listen to that." Jeremy. I mean, he's on my Facebook. You can probably look him up on my Facebook. Go look him up. He's a dumbass. You're a dumbass, Jeremy. And I would say that right now publicly. If you could come on and say anything that could be convincing to me, then I will publicly apologize there on the air and say, "Oh, I apologize. I thought you were a big dumbass because of all the dumb shit you post."
Yeah, I can attest to that. I mean, you would do that, but I doubt that would happen.
No, I'll be the first to apologize and backtrack.
I doubt that it would come to that because everyone's so opinionated until you and critical until you tell them, "Okay, well, join open lines. Come talk to me," and then just crickets.
And YouTube is a cutthroat arena. And Livestream is not your little podcast where you can. The podcast people need to shut the freaking F up. You know why? I'll tell you why. Because if you can get on here and you can do what I do and do it live, no redos, it's live. Whatever you say is there. It's into the ether. It's live. It's there. Right? It's the live stream. Let your words not be edited. Anybody can go and make a podcast episode. I did it for years. And we did that. We did this. And this became my preferred form of whatever, because what you say, it's right there. You make a mistake, it's there. Have some balls. People like Jeremy, why don't you have some balls? And come out and do it in front of everybody live. No redos. You make a mistake, it's there. You just made a mistake. It takes brass balls to do this 3 or 4 times a week. It does. The people that do the editing and all that shit, where they just do and most people do that. So, I'm talking about a very wide, whatever. But you have that luxury of sitting there and going like, "Oh, okay, I made a mistake. Let's go back and redo that. Let's edit that. Let's take that part out. Let's not do that." So you can sound like a damn genius or whatever the hell you think you're doing. Try doing it live where everybody can see. There's no trickery, nothing. You can't. You're just going to do what you're going to do. See, that's why you're scared, because you want to bring your friend to hold your hand, because go ahead, bring your friend. I say this now publicly. I offer you to come bring your friend. He can hold your hand and we'll do it live. Let's see if the two of you can rub 2 brain cells together to defeat me, since that's what you're looking at it as. I invited you onto the show to explain what you do. And you started going on, well, you're one of those people that's not going to believe no matter what I say. That's absolutely not true.
Well, why don't you say it first? And
if you could tell me in the audience your wacky ass beliefs and tell me, because I do think they're wacky, because I don't know them all. I just know from what I've seen. Know them by their fruits, right? Look, what I've seen sounds like dumb shit, because you post it all the time on Facebook ad nauseum. And I just was like, what is this? What is this shit? So do it. when people talk about these things, when they say, "Hey, I've seen a creature, I've seen something," like these people are talking about these things coming out of portals, I got to tell you the encounter, and I got to tell, or the person that comes on has to tell the encounter, and we do it live. There's no redos, there's no go backs, whatever. Say, "Oh, you know what? I didn't get it right. Let me do it. Let's do it this way." That's why it's these live streams, man. I'm telling you, it's a different arena, dude. The podcasters,
Mhm.
you're bitches. They are. They're little bitches, dude. Don't talk about people who do the live streams on YouTube. Do not talk about, because you won't do it. They don't do it. And you can hide your numbers too, because when you go onto a live stream, that number right there, that's going to tell people how many people are paying attention to you. I've seen people with 500,000, whatever, and then they get on a live stream, they have 100 people. Somebody's not telling the truth. You're lying. You're liar, liar, pants on fire. You don't have that many people. Baloney. So podcasters have this little attitude like, "Oh, well, I'm a podcaster. I don't do YouTube." Well, fuck no, you don't do YouTube, because they'd eat your ass alive, because you don't know how to do YouTube. You could not survive a live stream. Or there's people that do the YouTube, and they'll just do like their episode and they edit it, whatever. Then when they get on a live stream, they suck ass because they're not good at what they do. They're good at letting people ramble on. You get 15 minutes of a story, then 45 minutes of dead ass air. That's the truth. It's just the truth. Even if you took out an hour of me talking about this, you're still going to get 2 hours of entertainment. That's what people also, that really aggravates me. I'm going to tell you that right now. You'll get 2 full hours of encounters, and then you'll bitch because I talked about something for an hour somewhere else. What are you bitching about? It's still more of than you're going to get from whatever Dogman, interviews or whatever the F it's called. And he's not even the main one I'm talking about. I'm talking about podcasters. You got a podcast? Congratulations, I have a shirt. I can't stand that, dude. Everybody's like, "I got a podcast," whatever. Brand new guy. Obviously, you are a brand new guy. He says, "Stop gossiping and start telling encounters." Okay, Mike. All right, Mike or Jessica or whichever shit as you are, you will be banned and you're deleted. How about that? Wish you into the cornfield. Gossiping. I'm telling you the truth. I'm telling you how it is. This is what I deal with all the time.
I don't get it. We have 312 podcast episodes that are just stories. Why aren't you listening to that if you just want stories?
Go. You don't have to look at my face. My fat, ugly face, as y'all call it. Go ahead. You don't have to look at it. It's not that ugly because I get hit on all the damn time. So, I mean, obviously, I'm not that damn ugly. They call me a fat bastard. Well, I guess a lot of people like fat people then, don't they?
Charisma actually goes a long way, too. Like, people don't understand. It's not just about looks. You have to be able to talk to people.
Exactly, Scorp. Let these people come and talk. You talk. This guy talked a bunch of trash on his Facebook when I just asked a simple question. I wasn't even being a smartass. Like, where do you get your information from, dude? You're just spouting all this crap. I mean, oh, and you got a podcast. No, who doesn't? I'm so tired of that. I have a car. That's everybody. Everybody has a podcast now. Everybody. Now, some people's podcast, they're interesting people, and I think that they should have a podcast so they have a platform to talk. But most of them, sadly, don't. It's just so ridiculous now. Every damn body's doing it. Everybody. This is and it's saturated. When you go to look, like I said, there's these YouTube now they're doing with this Dogman stories or whatever, and it's just there's no reference. It's just a bunch of shit. They're just talking.
Mm-hmm.
Fake ass story talking about Austin, and this person couldn't even get the landmarks right. No, not everybody's Johnny Carson, Bryce, but they you know, you could at least be like halfway listenable, you know. Anyways, let's move on. So we were talking to some people about these what you want to call them, portals, you know, and what these things are that come out of these portals. And there are so many, I don't even like there when I was looking through the files, I had so many, dude. I couldn't even make up my damn mind of which ones I wanted to do. Because there's just like a I don't want to say like a plethora, but I mean there is.
Mhm.
There's a whole wide range of them. These creatures coming in and out of portals, and the Bigfooters, what do you call them? The apers or whatever the hell they're called. A
Yeah.
relic from a throwback era that
Antiquated.
really just antiquated. You need to just go off and whatever.
The monkey man people.
Go to the retirement homes where you belong.
It's a giant monkey man in the woods.
The giant monkey man in the woods people. What they do is they say, well, these portals could not possibly be because we don't believe in them.
Because it ain't in the Bible.
Yeah, well, most of the monkey man people are atheists.
The monkey man.
Yeah. But there's some of them, some of the hillbilly clan people that they don't believe that they're Christian too, but they don't believe that they're anything other than a monkey too. I mean, but they're in the minority though. It's actually, they're mostly atheists. And they're just crying about data and shit when there's no damn data. Shut your freaking pie hole. I've sang this song before. I'll sing it again. Shut the hole under your nose. Shut the hole under your nose. That's what you need to do. I'll give you an example. There's a woman named Brenda from Bryan. Well, she's from the Bryan College Station area. Been seeing Bigfoot on her property for 22 years as of 2024. So I guess it would be if she's, and I haven't spoken to her since December of 2024, but it goes back to the portals. I found it. I found the conversation I had with her. I had a little recording, whatever. She's outside. Summer day. Clear day. This has happened multiple times. She's outside. They're playing with water balloons. This was 2016. She's playing water balloon fight with her little boys. She has 3 little boys. And the oldest was only like 8. So they were really young. You know, they were all 2 years apart. So she's like 4, 6, 8, you know. And they're playing and they have one of those little pools, you know, those little small above ground pools.
Yeah.
And so they were filling it up, but the kids wanted to go out and get wet and whatever, jump around. So she's like, the sprinkler, the hose, the dog had bit a hole in it. So she goes, you know what? I had a mom idea. I went and got a bunch of water balloons. And I went out and we started throwing water balloons at each other. We had a great time. She goes, and then my husband comes home from work. He gets home at 3 and he runs in, changes and comes out and starts, you know, whatever. And then his brother shows up with his kids and they all just had a great time. They ate pizza and they had a good time. Then by the evening, the water was filled up. So she goes, we stayed around out by the pool and let the kids just jump around and swim and do whatever, you know, that the kids do in the pool. She's like, and then when all the kids were starting to go inside, she goes, I was one of the last ones out on the deck. She's like, and I see this blur, like a heat signature. She's like, and I'll be honest, she goes, I had not seen one of these creatures since 2012. Now, this was 2016. It's 4 years. So she's like, I was getting the impression that maybe they were gone, right? And she said, you know, where we live, and that's a very country, there's that country area out there is very wooded. There's a lot of woods. There's a lot of, like a bunch of hogs, big hog problem out there. I have some friends that use tanninite on them out there. If you don't know what that is, it's an explosive.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a lot of fun. You can shoot it and it goes boom. It's a chemical reaction, whatever.
Yeah.
But she's like, you know, she's like, my brother-in-law, he had his kids out there and his wife and me were outside. We were talking. Her name is Gail. We go inside. Gail gave me a really creepy encounter too, but it had nothing to do with portals. They go inside. She's like, I continued to look. I kept seeing like what it looked like a heat signature, but it was moving and the sun was going down at that point, you know, or the sun had gone down at that point. She's like, and I could see it through the light. And I see an arm. I see an arm come out. And here's what's weird about this one. This oval, grayish, silvery light was moving, and the portal itself was moving. And you could see the arm kind of feeling around. And then it went into the pool, and she was like in shock. Now, the kids haven't seen this. She doesn't want to scare them. But she takes Gail and she says, look, here's what's really freaky. After this thing, it took its arm and its leg kind of came out, and they saw like part of the face, then it went back in. Looked just like a Bigfoot, like you would think of as a pronounced brow ridge, had a gray face, big beard. It looked like a caveman, apish looking thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Goes right back into the portal and it fades away. And she's like, it was really quick. It was like, and it was over. She's like, that encounter. Now, a couple days later, Gail had her encounter. What happened to her? She lives in Bryan and she's in town. This isn't in the middle of the country. It's in an older neighborhood, in an older Hispanic neighborhood. But, she was like very shocked to go outside and see something come out of midair, in the middle of the air, and 4 feet off the ground, and reach out and try to grab her little dog. Can you imagine like the fear that would go through your mind? Like I would freak out, like say if Elvira or one of the puppies or baby or one of them, Beans, whoever, they're out there playing in the yard. And some gray, this was the same thing. It was like a gray silver portal thing. And this creature, the same thing she saw at her sister-in-law's house. And it reaches down and tries to grab their dog. She screamed and ran up and grabbed her dog. And her husband's kind of funny. He was like, yeah, the dog cost like $1,200. I was like, he's worried about he's like, if the dog gets taken, I got to come up with another $1,200.
That's the scary part right there.
Yeah. And he's like, the other dogs were rescues. That one was expensive, but it's a guy. I mean, he's kind of joking. I hear him in the background saying that, and he's joking. He goes, dude, I'm out there and I'm grilling dogs, man. Bratwurst, whatever. And this creature just does this. He's like, and one of my children, their daughter saw it. She's like 9. And so she goes to school and they make fun of her. And then the teacher actually had the audacity to call them at their house, right? And tell them, your daughter is telling lies to her classmates, and now they're making fun of her. It's her fault.
Wow. She
says, Gail talks real fast. She talks like Kim.
Mm-hmm.
Kim's like, Kim's like, but I snatched that phone up so fast. She has like kind of a country accent, but kind of a hood mixed with hood.
Yeah.
It's like hood country. I'll try to imitate it. I snatched that phone up so fast. I was like, look, lady, you don't know me. You don't want to know me. I'll throw down. What's up? She said the kids at school said her daughter was capping. It means lying.
Yeah.
Right? She's like, my daughter ain't capping shit. She's like, I saw it. She's like, I drove to the school that next day as school was getting out. She's like, I left work early. I told my daughter, I said, stay there. I'm picking you up. You ain't taking the bus. She's like, I go over there, pick up my 2 kids. The youngest one at that point was not old enough to be in school. He was only 4 going on 5. She's like, I go over there, I pick him up. I said, my sister-in-law saw this thing. We saw it, me and her together. And then it happened at my house the next week. Like it was like, I think a few days later or whatever, a week later, next weekend. She's like, you want to sit here and tell me that this isn't real? And get this. She gets the principal down there. The principal to this school doesn't argue with her. He's just kind of intrigued. He's kind of like, and he's like, where did this happen? And the teacher's over there like, being a B word, like a lot of teachers. But this principal was interested. It was a vice principal of this elementary school. It says, where did this happen? And she says, this, it happened, blah, 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 whatever. It's a little country school, where they go. They don't go to the inner city one or whatever, that one in, because it's that where they live, it's bad. So they transfer, whatever. And the guy says, look, he's like, I've been living in this area for a long time. He goes, and I've seen something like this. Now, I didn't see it come out of a hole in the sky. She's like, I didn't say it was in the sky. It was hovering about 4 feet off the ground. He's like, fair enough. But I saw one of these when I was 17. He's like, my 12-year-old brother had a BB gun, and I helped him fix it. So we went out and we were shooting cans with it. It was a pellet gun. He's like, and we shoot something, and it just comes barreling out of the brush at me. He was at me and my brother. He's like, and the fur on this thing was red, and the skin was grayish black. He's like, and it had this weird, like, kind of treasure troll hair going up at the top of its head. Didn't look like what she saw, but he said, look, I've seen something like this. This isn't like some rare thing. A lot of people have seen this.
Yeah.
And he goes, and when it turned around, he's like, I noticed on the bottom of its body, the left leg was like it wasn't fully there. You could see it, like see through it. He's like, and it always intrigued him. He said it was amazing. This is what she said. He told her this. And so, you have somebody that's telling you, that's in a position of authority, and he could potentially
lose his job
and be ridiculed. But he's like, he goes, I've been holding this in forever. He goes, I told my mom and my daddy told me never to talk about it. And then the teacher was over there like, and he looks at the teacher and he's like, of course, she's like, you think I'm lying? So later, the teacher goes and tells some other teachers that he's basically cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs and that he just did anything to side with the parent. So a certain individual started kind of like teasing him, the guy had grown up in that area. And eventually they ended up moving away from that area where they were living at, and they moved out into the country, and they went and ended up going to a different school. But she said that vice principal and her stayed friends, and that guy's wife's sister, which would be his sister-in-law, had a terrifying encounter. He ended up becoming friends with them because they were having these things happen, and he was intrigued by it. So he brought his younger brother that was there with him and they went onto the property where this happened. And they told him, he said, this is crazy. Like, this isn't out in the country. It was on the edge of town. It was like right on the edge of town. But he said it was crazy. It was like, this is not, he told his brother, we're not crazy. And she's like, we ended up like getting dinner, and talking, and my husband and them kind of hit it off, and he was telling everybody, like, even if it means I'm going to lose my job, he's like, I'm not going to be silent about this. This is what happened to me. So his wife's sister had an encounter. This is the principal, whatever, of that school. He's not the principal anymore. He went to a different school. But she was camping. Get this. She was camping, of course, Sam Houston, well known for being, Bigfoot stronghold. She was out in East Texas, and she was in a tent. Imagine this. She sees a light pulsating through the tent. She can see it, and it's her and her little sister and her younger sister. They're not kids. They're in their 20s. And they had another 2 people with them, their best friend and then her boyfriend. And her sister was a teenager. She was only like 14. She was like 20. Her sister was like 14 going on 15. They see this light, and she's just like, she called her Sissy. She says, Sissy, do you see this? And she says, I can see it. It's like a greenish, yellowish light. There again, greenish. Mm-hmm. It's a greenish blue, greenish yellow. It's this weird green thing.
It's never good.
And this is what's crazy. So she sticks her head out the window and she sees in through the darkness this moving ball of light, but it's like elongating, and it's this wolf-headed looking thing looking at her. A black wolf's head. Just that's all she saw was the head. And it was moving around, it was looking, and she's like, then when the sister-in-law, this guy's sister-in-law, sticks her head out, sees it, and this is like, I guess his wife's it's his wife's, not his wife's sister, it's his wife's what do you call that? Her brother's wife.
Oh,
Like it would be considered his sister-in-law, but because her brother, that's his wife.
Okay.
Right. So that's how they're related. They're not really related, but it's like if you have your wife's brother's wife, she's your sister-in-law too. I have some, and I don't even know them that well, but they end up talking, and so she said, it was years ago. They're in their 40s now. But she was like, dude, it was years ago. And she looks out at Sam Houston National Forest, and it was on the edge. It wasn't even deep down in there. And she said, this thing was a black wolf head. When they looked out, they see what looks like a paw come out. Now, they didn't say it was a werewolf or it was a dogman. They didn't say anything like that. But it was just a giant black wolf head. And then there was a paw as this thing elongated down onto the ground. And then there was another paw. And so this wolf was standing out, and they didn't see the back end of it. They just saw the front of it. And they screamed. And of course, I don't know the people next to them. I don't know their names, but their friend and her boyfriend came out, and so he set up a meeting with them so that they could talk. And these sisters told them, well, he's like, they got together. And she's like, and we talked about this. And it was like the one sister started crying because she was a young teenager when this happened. It scared the hell out of her. He said that it was like, this is her take on it. The wolf-like creature was 4 times. She said, if you had to put an estimate, it was 4 times the size of a regular wolf.
Jeez.
That's not even a dire wolf. That's like something
monstrosity.
Yeah. It's something else. There's something completely different. What's up, Warcry? How you doing? Like, I like him. I like his podcast. So, All right. Hold on one second, folks. So this thing does what it does, scares the living crap out of these young girls. Then it just goes back into the portal, like but it didn't kind of walk back in. Like it got sucked back in, and the portal turned red, like it was red, and then it went whoop, and it was gone. Now there are people who will say things, stupid things, ridiculous things, because there's a lot of that. There's a lot of stupidity that exists. Period. And they'll say, well, I don't believe in portals. It doesn't matter whether you believe in it or not, because multiple people are saying that this is what happened. Of course, Dick Richards, like he was here earlier. I had him on the show. Now he's coming on Mondays, and of course we get a lot of people that come on, and these people will talk about these things. Richards had these things fall out onto the ground and come after him. And I'm going to ask you, because Warcry, he's a Cherokee, a real Cherokee, not just somebody that has a card with a booger on it. He's a real guy. But Warcry, I mean, I know you've heard of these things. You've had people talk about these things. And there it is, Dick Richards says portals are real. Because if you're doing your homework, you're going to run across people that are going to talk about these things. And I thought it was interesting enough today that I talked to these guys who claimed that they saw this floating ball of light. They're from Spain. Happens there too, obviously. But you got these people that talk about these things. Now, this woman, the first woman that originally reached out to me, and then I talked to her sister-in-law, Gail. Both of them. After the first initial encounter with this Bigfoot type creature, they had multiple encounters with it, but it wasn't always with a portal, you know. But I got to say, I would think that's where it's coming from. They're coming out of this portal type thing, and they're moving around these people's property, and they ended up moving because they didn't want their children to encounter this creature that was coming onto their property, this grayish faced looking creature. And Warcry says, I was told probably about 4 years ago, but my aunt thinks little people travel that way. Yeah. And other beings do too. Her husband does medicine sometimes for the Muskogee Creek people. Yeah. I mean, the natives have been talking about this for a long time. And then we have these people, which are, and I'm not picking on anybody in particular, but like you have these people who come along, the apers, which I think most all of them are white men, males, whatever. And some of them are my friends, and I have no ill will with them at all. I love them to death, but they don't push it. But some of these effers push it, and they try to say, "Oh well, you know, I don't believe in that, and I believe it's the flesh and blood, blah 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 blah." And they totally disregard everything that the people that were here way before us, well, not before me because I'm part Comanche, but way before these other people came, were telling you, "Hey, this is what's happening. This is what it is." And they're like, no, I'm not going to believe that. Why? Because you don't want to believe that. So they take out all of the stories that involve these things. And I could march 1 million people up here to tell you, yes, I've seen this, yes, yeah, and I could repeat people's stories 1 million times, yes, yes, yes. And they would still say, no. Those thousands of people are all lying. Bigfoot's flesh and blood. I saw him at Arby's. He's in there, he's eating. He has to eat, so he's flesh and blood. Chip, chop, chip. You're wrong. Okay, I'm sorry. And I don't believe that they're going to find, and even if they do find a body or some sort of physical evidence of this creature that everybody has seen but can't seem to pin it down, it still ain't going to prove that they didn't come from portals. It's still not going to prove that they come from the inner earth or that they're a metaphysical thing. Because the bottom line, folks, is this, and I'm going to say this, and if you don't like it, leave. Don't listen. I don't care. If you listen, you don't listen, whatever. We are, in our essence, metaphysical. That's the thing that people seem to keep on, like, not grasping. We are ourselves not completely a physical thing. We have a soul. There are people. I named a guy the other night on the show, Anthony. He came on the show one time. His name is Anthony, and he walked through a portal. And then somebody in the comment section says, yeah, I know him, and it happened to me too in that same area. They said in the comment section of the show. The guy came on our show. He was very distraught. It's been a couple years now. I don't know if you guys remember. There was a live stream. He's from a group called Wraith Hunters. His name's Anthony Ceballos. And he talked about going through a portal with his son, and it was terrifying. And now he's like, I'm not in my right timeline. I don't feel normal. Something's wrong. And you want to help these people. But what can you do? What can you do? But then you have dumbasses like that teacher, and I don't know her, but from what that was told to me, that if that's what happened, that's pretty allegedly, if that's what happened. And I'm saying allegedly, I'm not saying that I don't believe it. I'm saying I have to say allegedly. But if that's what she did, she's stupid. She's ignorant. These people are ignorant. Right? And what you when I was talking earlier about podcasters and everybody having a podcast and everybody doing it or whatever, listen to what I'm going to tell you, because these people, they water things down, and then it becomes a problem because they don't They don't approach the subjects correctly. A lot of them, not all of them. They don't give you the full spectrum. And when they get somebody to interview, they don't do it right. So you end up with this feeling of like, you know, that they're not touching on these subjects the way that they should be. Do you understand what I'm saying? There should be more. Like there's so much more to this, and there's not. They're not hitting it the way they should be hitting it. So then people walk away not being fulfilled, not understanding it, and not grasping it. And that's why I have a problem with that. Because it builds, and it can have the negative reverse effect. They're going to be like, some people have common sense, and they're going to listen, and they're going to go, this is bullshit. What this podcast or whoever, YouTuber, whatever they are, they're full of crap. This is bull crap. I don't believe this. I don't believe that this, because they're interviewing somebody and they're not going to believe it. So it has a worse effect. Why even do it or touch it if you're not going to do it correctly? That's my bitch about that. That's my gripe. That's my grievance. It's my right to have that. And, you know, if you don't like it, you don't agree, you don't agree. But I don't think that a million people interviewing people and all this, I don't think it's a good thing. I don't, because like my colleague said, just because you can don't mean you should. And, you know, the best thing you can do is just don't touch it if you're not going to approach it correctly. Or if you're going to approach it from a biased standpoint, because we've had people talk about physical encounters, spiritual encounters, whatever. It doesn't matter. And it doesn't change my stance on it either. It doesn't. But like I said, if you're going to talk about this subject and you're gonna broach a subject, then you need to do it correctly. Let's tell the whole story. Right? So I asked Gail and I asked her sister-in-law, and I said, we did, both of them 2 different times. And I said, did you guys have anything happen prior to this? Yes. Yes. Several things. They both have seen UFOs and they both seen ghosts, and they have both seen UFOs with their husbands. They were not the Lone Rangers in this. Now you might say, hey, what does this have to do with, and yes, Davy Jones Lager, that's absolutely correct. And then you may ask the question, what does this have to do with the time of day? Well, what it has to do is it's all connected. And so if you have something like that on your property, why would it be so far-fetched that you would have a portal with something coming out of it? Right? The little girl's principal at the school, or vice principal, whatever it was 100% in their corner, because he's like, you know what? I've seen this. You could literally throw a rock in a parking lot. I don't suggest you doing that because that's assault. But if you were to just take a pebble and throw it, you hit somebody, that person's probably seen a Bigfoot or a ghost. Or they know somebody who has. Or they've seen a UFO. And some of these podcasters / YouTubers, whatever the hell, I don't know, I got no stories enough. I kind of bullshit. That's why you go and do boots on the ground, because you don't have anybody talking to you about this stuff. So you have to go do boots in your yard or whatever it is you do. And there's a handful of them doing that bullshit. They love to tout there's boots on the ground. You're not even doing like even 0.00001% of what the work the PRT is doing. How many actual witnesses are you talking to about this shit? Or are you just wandering around tossing rocks into the darkness? Figuratively and absolutely. Because that's what these people do. Stop pretending that you're doing all of this amazing work by doing boots on the ground because you're not even going anywhere. You're just going down the road and to the same places and walking around in the darkness and having people walk in front of your lights pretending like they're something, throwing a rock and saying it's Bigfoot. And those people are a joke. This is not even dwell on it. But there's a lot of these other people that are even worse. Not worse in the sick minds that people have, but I'm talking about worse in the way that it's more subtle. It's more subtle. They like to mention that they're boots on the ground. They went and they did this and they did that. With nothing to show for it. No real data. No nothing. No real guests. Nobody's stories to repeat or anything. They don't have anything. And then they're mad because people don't go to them to give them anything. Why would they? Look at how you retell it. Look how you butcher it. Look how you lie. Look at how you deceive everybody. Because all it takes is one douchebag to get a microphone and a camera, and then they become a podcaster, YouTuber, whatever. And most of these people are definitely in that category of just because you can doesn't mean you should. And then you muddy the waters and people will listen to this shit. And sometimes people will stumble across it by accident and they'll be like, what in the hell is going on? Here's another one of these lunatics who's wandering around in the woods, or they're putting out this fake material and people are being, turned off by it. They don't believe it. And then they want to say silly things like, oh, the Native Americans talking about these things being a spirit. Oh, well, they're misinformed. They don't understand. It's a giant monkey man running around the woods. The hell it is, because if it was, don't you think we would have found it by now? We could find the lowland mountain gorilla in the heart of Africa, but we can't find this giant creature that's like 3 times the size wandering around in our woods right here in North America? Come, dude, dude, what do you need to get your mind out of this doo-doo? You need to seriously stop. Hey, you want to jump on?
I'm a spooky ghost. Can you see me?
Yeah. What's going on?
Oh, here it is.
Yeah, I found it.
Oh, good. Okay, that's what I can.
So you have this, my wife here. You want to say hi? You want to jump on and say hi? I don't know. You have to ask Anthony if that's hot or not. I don't know. But you have this ridiculousness going on in the community, folks. And I personally, I look at my people as my flock. I look at me. We are here at PRT. We're shepherding the flock. You don't want those people. Now I'm a wolf, right? I'll wear the sheep's clothing with you guys so that when they come, they end up getting the fangs. So there's different ways to be the wolf in sheep's clothing. You can just be hanging out with the sheep that you're trying to protect. And when the other wolves come, you take care of them. You stop them.
Sometimes it takes a wolf to catch a wolf.
You got to smoke them out.
Smoke it out.
And you can tell because there's certain people that get agitated when I say certain things. They get really agitated. They get real upset. They get real territorial because that's their grift. And you're interfering with it. Hold on one second. So that's their grift. And I don't want you to be subjected to that. And some of these people, I'm not telling you not to listen to most of these people are okay. But there's quite a few of them that are garbage. They're just absolute garbage. And it's a waste of your time. And then they muddy the waters. And they say things that are they're just lies, basically fraud. They commit it. every day. It's like they wake up and their whole world is a fraud. Think about it. If you're a person who can walk around all over the woods and do all these things, why are you on disability? There's people doing this. Not even joking.
His whole life is a grift. Everything's fake. It's
Everything is
fraud.
fake. Everything is a fraud. And so you have people that are doing this, and then they're telling you, and you're supposed to sit there and suspend reality and think that this is real. But you know it's not, because you're not stupid. We have one of the smartest audiences. I swear, you guys are you're not supposed to swear, but I tell you right now, you guys are the smartest.
Yep.
You're not going to fool you. So most of you are not stupid enough to go and listen to these maniacs.
Or fall for their rock throwing techniques.
Yeah. And these podcasters who are just full of crap, dude, and they hate my guts. They hate my guts because, like Jeremy, like I challenged him and I said, come on, Jeremy. Talk about your weird ass beliefs on my show. Come on, bring it on. You know, I'll let you talk. No, I got to bring my friend. He's got to hold my hand so we can talk together and we can be.
Wait,
I'm
there's
not going
somebody.
without my friend.
I'm just hearing about this. Who's this, Jeremy? He's got a friend.
I'll tell you later. And he's like, oh, I'm going to bring my friend. I was like, no, you're not. I didn't invite your friend. I invited you. You're the one that keeps attacking and saying that I'm, I don't know what I'm talking about. Because apparently you're the authority on everything from politics to religion. So let's hear it.
Just put a little extra starch in your shirt
I
so you have
asked him-
a stronger back to face wolf.
I asked him to come on. Well, that's the thing. He's looking at it like I'm challenging him. I said, dude, why don't you just come on the show? You have a show. I have a show. Why don't you come on and talk about your weird ass beliefs? Tell us what you think. You didn't want to do that, did you? You said, oh, I have to have my partner with me. Why? You got to have him hold your hand. Anyways, here's another story that we got. It's not a real in-depth one or whatever, but we were talking. This one, I wanted to go over with Abe and his cousin Jesse about it because they're from this area, and it was in between Brownsville and Raymondville. And these people were driving. They were driving. And the name of the person, he only gave me his last name, and it was an email, so I don't know if I should say it. Mendez is the only name I got. But they didn't say not to say it. So anyways, they were driving through this area, and they see in the middle of the night, they see once again, like this moving ball that becomes like a kind of like it inverts itself. And there's like this weird part that kind of comes up, and it's almost like this is weird, right? Like somebody's lifting something up, and they see this green creature. Now, here's what's interesting. Myself, and Ken Gerhardt, and Ann Celine, and my wife, and Anthony, we were all at the Black Swan Inn a couple years ago, about 2 years ago now. Back then, it was 2 years ago. It was May, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, it was May. It was May or June. I know it was hot.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone.
But
I
we
think it
were
was May.
at the Paracon or Paranormal Festival, wasn't it, in San Antonio?
Mm-hmm.
At the Black Swan Inn, a very, very notoriously haunted place. You can look at Black Swan Inn all over YouTube. And the lady that runs it, she's a really nice lady, and we got to talk to her a little bit. But this couple from South Texas, down in what we call the Valley, told us about a green Bigfoot, and the woman actually recorded it and sent it to me, and I lost it. Okay. You remember that? Yeah. And Ken was there, and so was Ann. They can vouch for it. But they sent me this, like a recording of her talking about what happened, giving the whole story, whatever. And then there was this like weird sound or whatever. But the creature that they saw was like a Bigfoot, but it was glowing green.
The whole thing?
You don't remember that?
No, for some reason I don't. So the whole Bigfoot was going, not just his eyes?
No, it was green. The creature was green.
Mm-hmm.
It was skinny. You remember that, right, Anthony?
Yeah.
Yeah. It was the lady was standing there with her husband, And they were telling the encounter to me and Ken, him, and then there was another like lady that was there next to them.
Yeah, wasn't it the female, the Mexican female podcasters?
I can't remember who was next to them.
Yeah, I'm remembering now. Yeah.
Yeah, I think
They were all there.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were all there listening to this woman. So she sends me the encounter in a recording, which I don't know what happened to it. But I remember the encounter though, which she was talking about, and they saw it running through a field and it was green. And Ken was at a loss. He's like, I don't know what that could have been. And Celine has had a very spiritual Bigfoot encounter. And so we all just kind of compared, notes, and it was weird. It was a weird thing. But these people had this similar thing happen. But this thing like opened up the portal and it was just like white inside of this sphere of like, and it changed colors. The portal itself was like a bluish green or greenish blue, as they said. He didn't say bluish green. He said greenish blue. So I guess it was blue and it was more green. And yeah, and William Rabito says, bring Abe and Jesse on one night. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
For sure. I mean, I've had Abe on multiple times. I've never had Jesse on. I'd love to have him on the show.
Yeah.
And so, and I've talked to Abe and them about this because the South Texas corridor has a bunch of weird stuff. That there's a flying creature called the Pujaro, isn't it? What it's called? The Pujaro. Yeah. From Raymondville. And it's called the Raymondville Terror. And Abe talked about it one night on his show, talking about how they had shut down the school and everything. They didn't, But anyways, they're driving down this highway, and it's late at night. It's very, very dark. It's like 3 something, right? And they see this what looks like a thing moving across the field, going toward the highway. And this thing opens like it had its hand, like it lifted it up like a window, and it was like white around it. And so this thing ceased to be like a ball of light and became more like they lifted it up like there was a lip to it, And this thing's head peeks out and it's green. It's a green furred creature. And of course, I've heard people joking like, oh, it's the Grinch, whatever. But that's not the only time I've heard of this.
No,
now
Oscar would be better. He's the one who lives so.
Yeah, the trash can, Oscar the Grouch.
Yeah.
In the middle of the streets of Laredo. Now, this isn't in the valley, but this is in South Texas. And Chris James would be the guy to talk to because he's from there. Now, he's got a podcast, Strange Things with Chris James, but he's, like I said, there's people that I think are good and some that just aren't. He's one of the good ones. And this thing was in the middle of the streets of Laredo at 1:10 a.m. These guys were leaving the Taco Cabana, and they saw the same thing. A green furred creature that walked out from behind a trash can where there was a light, a flash, and then this creature was right there. And it looks like a Bigfoot. And one of the guys' name was Alvarado, that gave me that encounter. He said that happened to him. He's not from there, but his girlfriend at the time lived there and his cousins were there. And Alvin said it came out. He saw it. He's like, I was like 32 years old. At the time that he saw it, it was in 2011. So what is that, 14 years ago now? Mm-hmm. He's a 47-year-old man. And he's like, I'll never forget it. And it was green. And then it just walked right back in behind the trash can. And that was a very quick encounter, but he's going to always remember it. These people that saw this creature, the Mendez, I guess, family, the guy sent me the email. He said, me and my wife and my kids were driving. The kids were asleep. We were heading back to go back up to Corpus. He's like, well, we had to go back to Raymondville to get some of our stuff, and then we were going to go to Corpus. They had some friends there that they were staying with, that they had stayed with, whatever. And they had left a bunch of their stuff there because they wanted it when they went to Brownsville for the day. They were going to cross the border, and they didn't want to just leave a bunch of stuff there. They left it with some friends. So they went to get their stuff and then cut back, go up to Corpus, whatever. Right here in Texas. Creature was green. He said his wife was driving. He goes, and I was looking at my phone. My wife's like, honey, what is that? Look at that. And in the email, he says, I put my phone down and I look up and I see this thing opening up like it's a window. So, and now here's the thing too. If these stories, allegedly, these are true stories, I'm not saying that they are because I don't know. I mean, but if these stories are to be believed and there's multiple people sending them, you have white people, you have Hispanic people, you have black people that are seeing these things. Here's another one. I mean, I know we're jumping around because some of these are pretty quick. They're not real long. But this guy's name is Henry. And he's a black dude. And he was in Louisiana and he's working on the railroad. And he said, dude, there was like debris in the middle of the road. We stopped the train. He goes, and he worked for the railroad service in Louisiana, and he had to drive over there to pull it off. Or whatever. It was near Bossier City.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, I get out. He goes, and I see these two balls of light crisscrossing, moving around. One was red and one was green. He's like, and I see them just go, and then I hear noise. Now imagine you and your friend are working out there and then it's dark and you got the hat with the light, you know, and he goes, and you're looking and there's something out there, something in the woods. And it's coming towards you. He goes, and then my friend got a glimpse of it, and they were these little brown looking creatures. They were naked. This is the way he described them. They were not wearing clothing of any kind, but they didn't have any genitalia. They just looked like black or dark brown claymation things with little square heads.
What?
Yeah. And they were running toward them fast.
Ooh.
And he goes, dude, man, jokingly, now this guy told me a bunch of other stuff too. He had a Dogman encounter. After this is when he was really young. He was 24. Since then, he's had a Dogman encounter and some weird stuff happened at his house. But he says, dude, he goes, I know black people always die in the movies first. He's like, man, my friend, he's white. And he's just like, oh, it's okay. He's like, no, I just saw what they were. He's like, dude, I don't know what I saw. He goes, you saw it too. Stop acting. He goes, you want to stay out here and get eaten by those things? Go ahead. Now you would add, what is it? Brownies? Are they called brownies? What is that? But he got his ass back in, they have those trucks where they put the rails on them where they can move. Yeah. He got back in the truck. And then his friend did too. And one of them runs up and throws its little gross looking self onto the truck and was like, had little teeth and everything.
Yeah.
And then they fade back off into the darkness and they're gone. And all of the electrical, everything died.
So they weren't furry, that they just had like the smooth skin?
With wrinkles all over them.
Ugh.
Creepy, right?
Mm-hmm.
So here's another one. This guy's name is Kevin Greenwood.
It's like anything can come out of these orbs or portals.
Oh yeah, anything. This guy saw one in his house, in his living room. He's like, here's a thud, boom, right there in his, in his den. He's going downstairs. He's going to go use the computer. And it was 9:00 at night. He's like, hey, it's getting late. And his wife, it's a weekend. And he wants to order a pizza. This is in Houston, Texas. His name's Kevin. He goes downstairs, goes to the computer, and he's like, and he looks and he sees this thing, black, creepy looking thing with big old pointy ears, like looking around the corner at him. That's when he heard the thud like that. He goes, that must have been what that was. And he didn't think nothing of it at the time. He thought, oh, this thing may have fallen down, or he was like, all these thoughts are going through his head. He's looking at this thing. He said it wasn't a real brief thing either. He goes, I was staring at it for like 30 seconds. That's a long time, folks. Count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
It's especially 6. A long time to see something so
that right there, 6, 7 seconds would have been a long enough time to be going like 7, 8, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
He said it was like 30 seconds, man. His wife gave me this story. This is a white guy, blonde-haired guy. Don't know what to tell you other than that, because I said, what are you? Are you ethnic? Are you like native or what? He's like, I'm Caucasian. He goes, well, my hair is white now, but it was blonde back when I was young. He sees this thing. He gets up. He goes, I go from the desk and I go and I look. This thing is like opening the front door and running out. The portal thing, though, comes from the flash of light that he saw. And then a few days after that, he goes, we had a little get together at our house, and I was like still in shock about what I had seen. He's like, and we see this ball of light in the corner. There's like 20 people in my backyard. We see this ball of light. It looks purple. And then it's gone. And everybody's just like, what the heck was that? And then everybody's in disbelief, and nobody really knows if they really believe what they just saw. And he's like, I'm about to start talking about the little critter, as he called it. He goes, and then my friend says, hey, yeah, man, we're going to talk about, you know. He said, my wife's friend's like, hey, you know, probably not. These are people from work. You know, they're going to think you're crazy because they just saw a purple ball. Yeah, but now you're talking about little baby vampire looking creatures. That's what he called it, little baby black vampire. Grayish black. Here's another one, a woman named Mercedes. She's an African-American woman down in Beaumont, driving her car. And she said, dude, I was falling asleep. She didn't say dude, but she said, I was falling asleep. She's like, my daughter was just talking away, talking about all kinds of things. My daughter was one of those, you know, the girls that play with Pokemon. So it was mostly boys, but she's like, my boys play with Pokemon. She played with Pokemon. She's like, I got this Pokemon card and this Pokemon card. And she's like, I told her how to fix that. I said, what you do is you take them into the bathroom and you get the shampoo bottle and you just start reading off the ingredients to it. And you're like, you see that? And they're like, and you're like, yeah, that's what happens to me when you read the names of the Pokemon. You see how boring that is? And they're like, yeah. Now, so next time we're going to do the toothpaste. All right. So next time, or the deodorant. You like that? And they're like, exactly. So let's not talk about Pokemon or Yu-Gi-Oh, whatever again, because I'm not, you look at me. I'm dying. I'm going to sleep. Anyways, that's just how you deal with that. You take care of it. You take the bottle and just start reading it to them. All the ingredients or the food, because you know there's every kind of poison in the world in the food.
Just read them the ingredients in their cereal. Yeah. This is what's in Captain Crunch. I can't pronounce half of it, but you eat it every morning.
Why would you not want to hear that?
Yeah.
So anyway, her daughter, she goes, and it was so monotonous, it was making me want to fall asleep. She's like, and then she's like, Mama, look. And what does her little 7-year-old daughter say? There's a Pokemon right there in front of us. And I'm like, child, She goes, I was about to tell her, hush her mouth. Stop talking crazy.
And then she saw it.
Mercedes saw this thing in between Beaumont and Houston. Yellow orb. Something peeking its head out. She said it had horns like a demon. And then it was gone. It gets shot off real fast. And can you imagine the child?
She probably thought it was Pikachu.
She thought it was like a Pokemon. And so for years, until she was like 16, Mercedes is like, and then my baby was talking crazy, being in high school, talking about, I saw a Pokemon. I said, baby, you saw a demon. She's a pretty colorful person. But it's, you know, it's funny how she said that, you know?
Yeah.
But you have all these different people who've seen this. They've all walks of life, they've seen this. Right? There was a woman that was Tony's mother's friend. It was at one of the get-togethers, and she was talking about some creature coming out of it was basically a demon. She's Vietnamese. And she was sitting there with me and Tony's stepdad, and we were talking, and it was this creature or something that came out of this red light. It was like a demon with these horns that went straight up and down in its head. And you're going like, this is the kind of stuff that people see. Now you're talking about Asian, black, white, Hispanic. It doesn't matter what walk of life you're from. You saw Warcry on here earlier. He's native. He's Cherokee. He's a real native, not one of these. I'm native, and you have like your 1/62nd whatever Cherokee, and the rest of you is an asshole. No, we're being. No, he's a real native. He's been on the show. And his grandmother or his aunt, was he talking about the little people coming out of these things? What about the railroad worker where these things were coming out of there? And I agreed with him. I said, well, it is true. Black people, they do die in the movies first. They're like, okay, we're just going to go ahead and, it's like South Park.
Yeah.
Where they put the black people in the tanks or whatever. We're going to war. I don't think it's that bad, but you know what I'm saying.
Not so much in real life, though, because minorities, we don't Scooby-Doo it.
They don't.
No, we're just like, all right, I'm out.
And Hispanic people are even worse. Like, they're like, El Cucuy, you're not supposed to even talk.
Yeah.
You just sit there. Don't say it. Don't say the word. Don't talk about it because you don't want it coming after you. And I'm not even lying. When I was a kid, I was told that. I was like, I heard whistling and they told us, don't be whistling back at that shit.
Yeah, you don't whistle at night.
Like, I didn't do it. I personally didn't do it. I told my friend to do it. And he was white. I mean, he was all like, okay. Mm-hmm. And then one of my black friends, I told him, I was like, remember our friend Steven Rieger was married to my cousin. Mm-hmm. Shout out to him. He was talking about our friend Kim Taylor. Kim's a black guy from Taylor. And Kim, they told me if the Lechusa chases after you, cuss at it.
Yeah.
So he took off running, cussing. But they think they really encountered one of these things. And I remember Abe talking on his show one night on Spiritual Encrypted Encounters with Abe Cias. He does a really good job. Go check him out. What was he saying? He was talking about these brujas or brujos down in the valley. They were every night out there with this crap. And even fighting one another with their black magic. These things are real, and so are portals. And folks, and I'm so sick of this, these encrypted community trying to say the portals aren't real. There's a woman who saw a full-on apparition of a dead relative, and her great uncle, her grandfather's brother, came out of the portal and talked to her grandfather in front of her. This was in Tallahassee, Florida. And her name was Maggie. And she said, look, this being, she's very Christian. She said it could have been a demon, but it was very much, my grandfather was dying. He had Alzheimer's. She's like, I witnessed it. I saw it. But I couldn't hear the words, what it was saying, but my grandfather was talking to him, but I couldn't hear their words. It was a weird thing. You have wolves and dogmen and green furry creatures and all kinds of... There is something happening here. And these people, like I said, they're not interested in that, especially these Bigfoot people who are like, no, I don't believe in none of that. That's not happening. William, that's a very smart thing. William says, I work as a logger. I don't whistle in the woods. But no, don't do it. Anyways, folks, that's all we have for tonight. I got to run. And like I said, I didn't mean to go on a tangent about people who were podcasters, YouTube, whatever. I would say this. I want more information out there. The more, the better. But then I have to kind of backtrack and say no, because I don't want them watering it down and muddying the waters. And you have people that will waste hours of their lives listening to some fool that's rambling on about something that, and they'll have a great guest and they won't ask them shit. Excuse my language, but it's just so frustrating to me. And you'll be listening because you like the guest and you're like, who is this clown interviewing this person? And I'm not even going to lie. I've contacted some of my friends and be like, why were you even on that show? And they're like, yeah, I probably shouldn't have. Yeah, it's not even worth it. And when we were trying to get our name out there and do stuff, whatever, people told me this. They go on as many podcast shows as you can. And I said, no. And you guys, Nellie, Anthony, you can attest to this. I got invited all the time to be on people's shows.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I would thank you for that. Never Been Forsaken Ministries. Thank you. We're going to have to eventually do something for the members.
Yes.
So we can, because we can't do the giveaways now.
Well, maybe
So we could do giveaways, but we can't do. But we're dead set on tomorrow doing the mail-offs. Me and Anthony, we have to, because not Maddie and Tony's fault, but it is their fault. Okay. They're very lazy, diminutive people. They have very small bodies, but they don't get enough energy. Okay.
They don't eat enough.
They're little house elves.
Keebler tree elves.
It's Dobie and Doba. They're little Keebler house elves. All right.
Can
So they do.
have some chicken?
We have some chicken. What the fuck was that? What the heck was that?
It's just like what I see in my mind. Like,
Oh God. Oh man. He's very proud of himself. Okay. But the point is that because we got to run, we got to go to work. I hate work. I'm really to the point. I'm burned out. But so you get this.
Wait, you don't got time for one more story?
Do I have time for one more story? No.
Oh,
It's 10:43. I got to be out by 11. So
okay.
I mean, maybe if I had a few more donations, I didn't give her many donations tonight. So I don't think
Well,
people
what
would.
about the cranberries or craisins?
Yeah, there's plenty of those. They're in every damn thing. They put one in my freaking thing the other day.
How lucky.
Where's JD at? JD, I gotta talk to you because I got something weird in one of my sinful bars or whatever we call them because it's
Everything bar.
everything. They call them sinful because it's so good. It's like I'm committing a sin,
Yeah.
whatever. But it's like no, looking at porn and doing all kinds of horrible things, that's a sin. Eating a granola bar shouldn't be. But I gotta talk to him because it was this weird. I think I got a craisin in it or something. I'm like, what is this? That's what made me so mad the other day. I was like, that is proof that they're putting them in everything. It's the cranberry invasion. What is this? You go outside and one hits you on the head and it's like a squirrel. He's throwing it out of his trail mix. I don't want this.
There you go, Quack
Okay, so-
and Gabriel.
so we got Andres with the $5 super chat, Gabrielle with a $20, and Quack with a $50.
So you
How
have
many altogether? How much altogether?
75.
Just now?
That's only
75.
75.
No,
I need
you
at least,
better
I
tell
need
the
at least
story.
100
1,000.
because we're gonna be late.
100,000.
$100,000. I'd sit here and tell stories until July 4th without stopping. No sleep, nothing. Oh, by the way, there is a study that they did. Anthony told me about this. We talked about this.
Is this going to count as our story?
No,
Okay.
no.
And
I'm
proceed.
saying that there was a study that was done that says that there is a gene. Tell me about the sleep gene.
Yeah, like
Well,
that.
obviously, you don't have it. You need it sleep all the time. But I'm the one that's got it.
So like I came across like some article that was citing a study where these people have identified a certain gene that very few people have it, but that allows certain people to function fully on only 4 hours of sleep. And I don't mean like people who only get 4 hours and they're like tired still or kind of sleep deprived or they're insomniacs and they only. No, I mean like 4 hours for them is like a full night's sleep to it's like a full night's sleep to someone else. And the first thing I thought of was like, oh yeah, that's wolf first and foremost. Which I mean, like we all knew that there were just people out there like that, but the fact that it's interesting that there's like an actual genetic marker that's been identified for that.
Mhm.
So it's like these people get this like really quick, like it's like hypersleep or
Yeah.
something.
Well, I can say this. Okay,
It's
so
very efficient.
my business partner, he's like a dad to me. We're very close. We ate dinner yesterday. Shout out to Marty Gonzalez.
86 says you're
Great
cutting
guy.
into the story time.
Well, I got enough money now in the donations. I will do another one.
Nice.
Thank you, Shadow Shadow Furry B, and
But
Brandon
here's the
Nemchik.
thing. So if
Yes,
you're still
thank you,
here,
guys.
I'll do another encounter. But here, because I got a million of them that are But where did my note go?
What did
Oh,
it look
it's
like?
right here. It's on the phone. Okay. So, anyways, I always knew that there was something to that, but my business partner, he finally started taking oxygen when he sleeps, and now he's dreaming. He didn't dream for 10 years, but he was only sleeping 4 to 5 hours a night, and he thought that was okay. And he goes, "Do you dream?" I said, "Hell yeah, I dream." I can fall asleep for 10 minutes and have these little micro dreams and then wake up and I'm okay. Your brain works differently and it actually processes and you start having dreams the minute you go to sleep. Nellie can attest to this.
Mhm.
I can fall asleep and go deep into sleep. When they did the sleep study
Quickly.
on me and I was actually they were trying to make sure that I was getting enough oxygen, whatever. When they gave me the oxygen, like I was dreaming really fast. And they were shocked that I was going into REM, like, you know. So that is what it is. It's like hyper sleep. And I've been doing this my whole life. So 4 to 5 hours, I can't go beyond 5 hours. I'll lay there and I will toss and turn and ultimately wake up my lady here and she'll kind of be like, get the F out of my bed. You know? She doesn't say that bad word, but she'll say, get out of bed. I know you're awake. And I'm laying there like, no, I'm not. I'm sleeping. Chew.
Richard says,
Yeah.
tape your mouth closed when you sleep, friend.
And so I have to get up because I'm just not. And then I'm up doing
Forever.
stuff. Yeah. And then I'm on the phone and then I become aggravated because people interrupt me.
What was that?
Exactly. So what were we talking about earlier in the episode that I lost my place on here, but there was somebody's story that I was going to talk about that went along with the guys from Spain.
Was it a Dogman? Is it,
I can't remember.
Do you have any?
It'll
stories?
jog my brain when I
Do
go
you have
back
any
and listen
stories
to
like
the replay.
from Mel's Hole where the animals came back to
No,
life? Nothing like
I
that.
don't know Mel's Hole. I mean, I do, but I don't have any stories from that.
Mm.
You heard that?
Yes. What was that?
I don't know.
Uh,
It sounded like a door opening
yeah,
and
it
closing,
did.
didn't it?
I'll just wait till you gotta go out there. Just kidding. You want me to-
Anyways, the people were shocked. They were like, how is it that your sleep, it was showing a lot of activity while you were asleep? So I told them the truth. I said, look, when I'm asleep, I leave my body. I'm a warrior. Okay. I'm protecting you. All right. I'm the Protectobot. I don't even know what that is. The Protectotron 5000. Thousands of years ago in the future, I came to you and went back and destroyed. You're welcome.
a go in the future. I love it.
So, you know, that's what happened. I mean, you know, it's what I do. It's the little thing I do, you know. So, I guess since I'm stuck here telling a story or an encounter, what do you guys want?
What do you guys want to
I mean,
hear?
Because I have a lot of different stuff. You just won't get as good a one on Sunday. There it goes. You're going to get it now.
Oh, you'll make up. Not make up, but you'll make
You'll
up.
make up.
I was going to say make up for it with a good story.
Oh,
You'll
okay,
find
you'll
a
make up for
story.
it. I thought you were going to say, you make up some shit.
No.
I'm not throwing rocks and saying it's Bigfoot.
So we got Dogman.
Everybody wants to hear about Dogman. Well, we got plenty of those. There was a
Dogman.
guy who gave us a story.
Gollum?
Singleton, not Singleton. Well, I told you about it the other day we were driving. Angleton. You remember we talked about Angleton? Or we had those people that used to live above us from Angleton.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, there was a flood
neighbors.
there one time. And this is an interesting story. And it's funny because the guy that we were talking crap about earlier,
Mhm.
I was like crap. I just think he's a crass asshole. But I'd put it all aside if he wants to come on the show and explain his weird ass beliefs, like I said.
Yeah, and you guys don't. He doesn't have to be an enemy. He could just talk, be a normal person.
Yeah, I'll publicly apologize if you can convince me. He said, I'm one of those people you can't convince of anything true.
What?
Yeah, okay, Jeremy, you can't convince me, you know. But you will probably be getting contacted by some people from Oklahoma that would love to be your friend.
Oh,
Mhm.
good luck.
And good luck with that, Jeremy.
Yeah,
Be
have fun
friends
with
with
that.
ground beef. You could have been friends with ribeye, but it's up to you. You do what you want to do.
Yeah, he'll flourish with roaches.
Yeah, you'll be great.
Ground beef from Dollar General.
So anyway, this guy, he gave me a story, and his name wasn't Jeremy. It was it sounded like that, but it was something else, not Jeremy.
Caramy?
No. So,
Jerome.
don't do that.
Sorry.
It started with a J.
Jerome.
Y'all are just saying stupid things, dude. I told you the other day, but I'm trying to remember. Anyways, the guy's name started with a J, but it was like Jeremy, but it was something else.
We'll call him Jay. For
Oh
now.
no, I'm wrong. It was Jeremiah.
There you
That's
go.
Jeremy short for Jeremiah anyway.
Okay.
Anyway, the guy's name was Jeremiah. And he gave me a story out of Angleton, Texas. There was a flood like 20 years ago or something. And there was this creature that was in the water. And it was one of those, like how things, they look like the predator. I don't know what you would call it. The shimmering, or what is it called?
The Glimmer Man.
The Glimmer Man. Yeah. It was like the Glimmer Man, that effect. And he goes, I saw it. My aunt saw it. I was with my aunt and my two cousins. And it wasn't like the flood wasn't like, it didn't destroy their part of the city, whatever. But it's near Houston, right? But it was like, in that area is kind of like sinking into the earth anyway. And he said that the water was like, when he was like a teenager, he said it was knee deep. He goes, and we were waiting in the water, and we were trying to help these people rescue their pets, because where the flood was, the water had gone down into these people's houses and stuff, but they were lower down, But where he was from, it didn't do that. But in that part of the town, it did. He's like, and there was this Glimmer Man looking creature, and he goes, and before our eyes, it materialized, and it was walking through the rain and sloshing through the water. He goes, and it walked by us like it wasn't even like the way that Jeremiah said, it wasn't even like cognizant that we were there. It was just, remember I was telling you about this, Anthony? Mm-hmm. And it was walking by them, and it didn't even acknowledge them. He goes, and it looked like a dog on its hind legs. Literally, like not. He didn't say it was a wolf. He said it was dog-like. Like it was dog-like. And he even said that the ears kind of looked like a mastiff's ears. You know how the mastiffs have the ears that go down unless you cut them, He said that's what it looked like. And I thought about that when Paranormal Oz talked about the creature. The Paranormal Oz, I don't know if he's in the chat or not, but he was talking about this floppy-eared creature or whatever. And this isn't a portal story or anything, but that is weird. I mean, and he goes, it walked by. He goes, and then it kind of took off in another direction. And he goes, it looked at us. We looked at it. And when it realized we could see it, it went quickly. And then it was just kind of like, and then it was gone. Like it sideways took off, and then we couldn't see it again. And he's like, and then we all just kind of stopped what we were doing. And he goes, and we just kept going back to helping these people.
I thought it was just walking by completely unnoticed, unseen, and
yeah.
realized,
but that it's would you call it like a cloaking device? Yeah. Here's another weird thing too. He said it was wearing a belt. So this is not like, and he said it was like a little rectangles, with like a little circle in the middle of it, and then went around its waist. And he was like, but it looked dog-like, but not totally like a dog. The way he said it just was dog-like.
Yeah.
Like a human mixed with a dog, a human with a dog's head or whatever. But it was furry. It was covered in fur. And he was like, this thing is just walking along. I don't know. There's some stories like that we could get into. Mm-hmm. There was one out of Lake Texoma that was very bizarre like that too, where there was like a flash of light. I'm not telling another one. We got to go.
Wait. You just now you got me interested.
Because it's 10:56.
Is it really?
Yes. Yeah. I'm not.
Time.
I wanted to try to start doing the shows at 7 so we could get out of here, because we got to lock up pools or whatever. But if we have somebody else doing it, do we have somebody else doing it? Just say yes or no.
Yeah.
But they got to go back to their site though.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we can't sit here all night. What is Madeline talking about running on Hispanic time? What are you talking about?
Arriba. No,
what you talking about, Willis? You know what you're talking about? Bradley Nimchik says, if you can donate, please. Yeah, it doesn't matter even if you donate them. I got to go, man. I would love to stay here and talk until 1 or 2 in the morning every day.
Me too. I just got here. What am I going to do now?
Well, that's because you use Apple phones and they suck, and you had to go to the Apple store until 10 o'clock. How many years have we been saying to ditch that phone?
What? What was that?
Exactly.
What are you saying?
Do you know that there was a time when
the Muffin Man
that was on? No, I do not. There was a guy from Taiwan who was talking the other day on YouTube, and he's like, he raised up the phone. He goes, "Do you know how much this thing cost to make?" And there were people giving these different numbers. I hit the nail on the head. I said $10 to $12. I didn't. I was watching it on whatever on TV. Mm-hmm. You remember? y'all were in the den. We were all in the den. And I had it on the computer. Y'all were in there aggravating my me time.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you. And so, and I said it was $10, $12, and he goes, and everybody was saying all this $100. No.
Yeah, it's all a scam.
And then he goes, $10. He goes, I know the person that runs the factory that makes it. He shows the picture of the guy. He said, they're made in China for $10. iPhone, $10. And you go and you pay the upcharge $1,190
Yeah.
upcharge.
I think those
Because it's $1,200, right?
16, I think.
What?
Jeez.
I think it's $1,600.
$1,600?
But it's a payment plan.
A payment plan. No.
I think those Beats
my stomach
I
headphones,
could be wrong. I don't know.
they cost like $2 to make.
What?
Beats.
Those Beats
Yeah,
headphones.
I don't
Beats
like
by
them.
Dre or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't
Mhm.
get those.
I'd beat Dre for
None of this
free.
crap has any real value.
You whoop his ass and you become a viral video. You'll be like famous. You'll be like, then he'll sue the shit out of you probably. But you know, and Lisa Marie says we pay $1,000. It's more than that. Dick Richard says the Muffin Man was a Jewish golem. I don't know about that. I'll have to look that up. Yeah, Rolex too, Stanfield. Yeah, exactly. And then Excalibur Knight says Android. Say, come on, why are you gonna say that? Android's not the greatest, but at least my phone works.
You don't have to have a proprietary charger and proprietary software to do
Exactly.
anything on it.
Are you gonna bag
Proprietary
on that?
this
Come
and
on
that.
now. Anyways, all right, guys, we're out of here. We got to run, man. I hate to, but we got to. And then, like I said, we are working on putting some content together so that the members will have a reason to become a member because we can't do the giveaways now. And then, but I see a lot of other channels doing it too. They all do it. I mean, it's like we were doing that because in lieu of like having content behind a paywall.
Yeah. We'll figure something
But we'll
out.
figure something out. But we will, and then we got to start the paywall on the other whatever. Hopefully that will solve the problem, and eventually we could just do this full time. Can you imagine how much work we could do? Because if I didn't have to deal with the business, we could actually do boots on the ground, for real boots on the ground, not just going down the street by our house or walking around on our property. I could go to my ranch. I got 78 acres to go walk around. I could walk around all day out there.
No, what though?
I'm friends with all the neighbors out there too. I
Scary.
got about 2,000 acres to go wander around out there. What?
The back of the ranch is scary. Yeah,
The back of the ranch is creepy. I'm not gonna lie.
I've
There
heard
is
some things out
some
there.
creepy sounds coming out of there.
I like sleeping with the window open, but
Gonna
after
come
I
some
heard that, I was like,
creepy
I'm gonna
sounds
close it.
going down at the ranch house. At the ranch house. Right?
Where's your
it's great.
maracas?
It's cool. I don't know where the baby maracas are. I don't know.
Here,
That's only one.
I'm got the
You
other one.
can't
Hold
really
on.
jam with one baby maraca.
Here you go. Now jam.
This is like the beginning of Walk Like an Egyptian.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
Anyways, I'll be here all night goofing around. Look, so if you would like to see me do that, then go do the paywall for $10 a month, and I'll quit my job.
Pay you to.
I'll just
watch
I'll just
like an
throw
Egyptian?
caution to the wind, and I'll give up bunches of money to go and do this, and we'll see how it works.
We have a
And
lot
if you think that it's bad now, that people say he's asking for money, whatever, can you imagine what's going to happen then? I'd be like, please, I'd like to pay my mortgage this year.
Mhm.
I'll be asking you every day.
kind of those extra lottery tickets lying around.
Yeah, man, I have to get a job as a trash man. Come home every day. Sorry, honey, I smell like a wet dog man. Some of these people have a lot of diapers in their trash.
Oh,
All right, guys. Anyways, that's it. We appreciate you coming on. We'll be back tomorrow night, right? Well, we're going to drop the episode with Joe Stone. We're
Yeah.
going to do that. And then
That's a
Friday night, we'll
pre-record?
be back with, is your friend Guy coming on? Or is it?
Oh, let me
I don't know.
see.
Because if not, I need to find out who it's going to be because I need to let the other people know.
Well, he's asleep right now because he's overseas. So I
he's
will find out
overseas or
tomorrow.
He's just very infantile.
He's overseas.
I'm kidding, Guy. We're not making fun of you. I'm trying to remember because I asked some other people and I got to figure it out. Anyway, we'll have somebody on Friday, and then we'll be back
If not, I
Sunday to
can,
retell
like,
people's
Dress
encounters.
up like with a wig and sunglasses and come in like the voice changer and.
Yeah. All right, man. Thank you for listening. We're out. Peace.
Bye, guys.
Oh, my mouse died.
not, so you gotta tell another story.
No, we don't. We have to go. Be the responsible one here. Don't do that. No, let the song play.
Oh, did you guys play the Alistair? Oh, the new one though, Anthony.